The regular meeting of Little West Metropolitan District, August 25th to order. We get a roll call, please.
Good evening, Board of Directors. Brianne Mignoni, District Clerk. Director Potter.
Here.
Director Pasternak.
Here.
Vice President Axworthy.
Here.
President Vickers.
Present.
And Director Roberts is excused.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
A motion seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll have the invocation by Mr. Robert Hernandez from the Pueblo West Fire Department.
Good evening, everyone. You'll bow your heads with me, please. Tonight, as we join together, let us ask the Lord to lead us and guide us through this meeting tonight. As we all know, there are things that need to be met tonight and things that will be brought up for the future. I pray that the Lord will lead us all in the right directions, not only to close the things that need to close, but for the future things that are in need. So we give thanks for all you do for us tonight, and we just ask you to give us all peace, joy, and strength to go through this meeting this evening. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
All right, we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like to remind you to remove your hats, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I understand we don't have any public comments? That's correct. Do we have any director's comments? Mr. Axworthy.
No, sir. I'm going to save mine until the end.
Mr. Pasternak?
Yeah, so I got information at a PEDCO meeting about a organization called Parents Challenge. They just started up in Pueblo County. They're operating out of El Paso County, and there's 500 families on the wait list there. So it's seems like a good program for school choice. They help with the cost of the choice that you would like your child to go to that school. They also do they call it an empowerment session where they help families prepare budgets. There's a whole list of courses. Probably the best thing to say for now is their website is parentschallenge.org. They've been operating for 25 years, and I know that as of about a week and a half ago, they were looking at supporting 30 families in Pueblo County, and they were at 7 as of then. I have a feeling this is going to fill up fast. That's it.
Thank you. Next is the approval of the consent agenda. Is there anybody have any questions or comments on the minutes or the financials? And if not, approve that agenda as stated.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
Request for approval of the consent agenda. Second.
A motion seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll go into special presentations, the Utilities Board brief update.
Good evening, President Vickers and the board members. We're the Utilities Department, and we're here to give you a brief update for the 2025 year. You can go to the next. So the Director of Utilities is Mr. Jim Blazing, overseeing utility administration, water treatment, wastewater treatment, collections and distribution, as well as the supervisory control and data acquisition, which is SCADA. I'll hand it over to Jeffrey.
Yep. Jeffrey De Herrera, Deputy Director of Utility Administration, all up there. So in Utilities Administration, I oversee billing. Our employees in billing are Brenda Frazzini, Autumn Bell, and Natalie Calderon. Our admin coordinator is Geneva Steckman. Water Resources Manager, who has presented here a little while back, Elisa Velasquez. Catherine Clough is our Utilities Program Coordinator, and she oversees backflow compliance and water conservation. And Matthew Cohen is our Hill Ranch Manager. Next slide, please. So Utility Administration, like I said, billing of accounts, monitoring number of accounts, and selling new water taps, selling those connections. Our water conservation, which Catherine Clough does. She does quite well at that too. We've saved quite a bit of water with her since having that position. We track water consumption overall, and we'll show some of those numbers in just a minute. We administer water rights, and not just our current water rights, but future water rights and storage rights as well. And along those lines, our collaborative efforts, joint projects, and mutual aid type things too with other agencies and other water providers. So Utilities Administration TAPs, year to date, we have 130 spoken for. Those have gone through COA process. It takes a little while before they're paid. That's why the number paid is 96. It's less than the number spoken for. Our water consumption, those numbers are actually wrong. Year to date, water consumption is 3,434. And last year, total in 2024, we pumped about 5,800 acre feet from the river. We have well projects going on right now. Actually, it happened today. Testing and sampling some of those. It says the end of August, which that is the end of August. And water conservation projects. Catherine does a lot of public outreach. She does the Garden in the Box, which is well advertised and actually we get a lot of good feedback from it, well liked. And the WaterWise program, and we even have a WaterWise logo for Prairie Smart Watering. She's developed all of that. So regional collaboration, some of the things we are involved in and board meetings we attend. Twin Lakes Reservoir Canal Company, Southeastern Colorado Water Conservancy District, we attend those board meetings. Board meetings for the Upper Arkansas Water Conservancy District as well as the Lower Arkansas Water Conservancy District. I am the vice chair of the Arkansas Basin Roundtable at the moment. We have a collaboration lease project with the Pueblo Board of Waterworks. We are budgeting now for a feasibility study with the city of Florence and Canyon City for the Oak Creek Reservoir project to see what that might cost. And we also had a board resolution that passed earlier this year for the Recovery of Yield project, which is a reservoir project right outside the city of Boone or the town of Boone.
All right, so I'm Kevin Love, the Deputy Director of Utility Operations. I oversee water treatment, which has a plant manager, a chief plant operator, multiple plant operators, and a lab technician, as well as the duplicate wastewater treatment plant, collections and distribution, and our SCADA coordinator. For our staff at the water treatment plant, we have our Troy Stevens, he's the plant manager. The chief plant operators have not been determined yet. As for plant operators, we have Aaron Iver, we have Bo Filsgraf, Brian Hart, Dylan Thompson, Jesse Thompson, and Justin Martinez, Ryan Hicks, Tony Campbell, and Tyler Filsgraf. We also have a lab technician, which will soon be determined. From our water treatment plant, average daily demand for raw water in August was 7.7 million gallons daily. Some of our completed goals this year was filter 8 clarifier has been rehabbed, filter 7 clarifier rehab, and filter 6 clarifier and filter rehab. Currently in progress, we have filter 5 media install, filter 11 clarifier and filter rehab, with the filter 12 filter rehab up and coming here shortly. We are currently reevaluating some of our chemical supplies to identify operational cost savings and increase our efficiency. We are researching additional safety features for our chlorine gas. Water treatment staff, we have...
Excuse me, can I ask just one question?
Yes, sir.
On the August average of the 7.07, is that is that up or down from historical use?
We'd have to look into that. I'm not sure what the historical.
I'm fairly
data-
certain it's down.
Down?
We've had times, not in the closest years, but maybe 4 or 5 years ago where we were pushing 12 MGD consistently, a little over 10 on average. And so I'm pretty sure 7's good
7's good.
for water storage for August, yeah.
Good, thank you.
All right, on our wastewater treatment staff, our plant manager is Libby Hoff. Our chief plant operator has yet to be determined. And the operators are dual wastewater and water, so those are the same operators. They facilitate operations on both plants. Our lab technician is Kyle Staples. Some of the year-to-dates, millions of gallons treated was 312.9 million on an average of 1.35 million gallons daily for treatment. We have had some progress with JVA on our upgrade, looking to pursue that. The RAS system, the return activated sludge pump, was rebuilt. Our WAS, our waste activated sludge solenoid project, was completed. Staff on both ends of the water and wastewater are obtaining and renewing state mandated certifications. The treatment plant also received an upgrade on its PLC, the program logic controller. As for our collections and distribution staff, we have our manager, John Martino. We have a chief operator who is yet to be determined. We have multiple operators, Adrian. We have Albert. I believe he came from our roads. And we have Adrian, David, Julian, Lori, David Pritchard. We'll see multiple Davids here. Roger, Justin, another David, Mr. Quantanar. Shane, Deegan. We have Daniel, Adam, Daniel, another Daniel there, a Tim and a Ron, as well as our inventory manager, Michael, as part of our team. Some of the items for 2025, we've had 13 main breaks that have been repaired. On our Purcell water main 16-inch transmission water line project, started in mid-August, that was just last week. Distribution system wide, the DBPs, or disinfecting byproducts, we completed some sampling here in August. We're pending results. Track 337, which is in the mobile home area, the water main replacement design, that has been completed. The new VACOL truck has been placed in service since May. The inflow and infiltration I&I study in progress to reduce demands on the collection system. And our PRV design completed, preparing to go out to bid. As for our SCADA, that would be Mr. Jared Perel. And those efforts have continued to standardize our instrumentation. That is ongoing. Filter level monitoring has been changed to radar sensors for better accuracy. New blower drive was installed at the waste treatment plant on digester number 3. All modulating valve controllers have been changed to upgrade digital controllers, leading to energy savings. We've connected production 2 and 3 for communications for water quality monitoring. And PLC upgrades from obsolete equipment have been completed, ensuring that our parts have support. And then we've provided a link there for our WaterWise tips and email, as well as the link to the website for our water department. And if you have any questions.
I have a question on the 1.35 million gallons a day that the wastewater processes. So that comes through our sewer system, correct?
That's correct.
So the 5.7, that leaves 5.7 out of the 7 million gallons you processed in August. If you take the 1.35 million gallons from that, that means 5.7 million is in A3 septic systems?
Not necessarily. A lot of that could have been to outdoor watering, outdoor irrigation. Actually, it's probably, the outdoor irrigation is probably more than what's sold in the septic areas.
Okay. That's That's all I had.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, thanks.
I mean, these guys might have some. Nope. Okay. You're good. Thank you. Next, we have the operational support by Mr. Sean Winters.
Good evening, President Vickers, members of the board. Sean Winters, Director of Operational Support. So operational support consists of 3 divisions: maintenance operations, project development, and community development. Staff in each of those maintenance operations, our Deputy Director is Chris DeBall. Lindsay Fest is our administrative assistant. Scott Amos is our facility supervisor, and he oversees maintenance technicians Gary Vigil, AJ Martinez, and Dale Karkin. Andrew Pfeiffer is also somebody under Scott's purview there. He's a utility maintenance technician. And Jeremiah Martin, who is our fleet coordinator. Under project development, Sherry Reed is our manager, and she oversees 3 project managers: John Federico, Chris Senna, and Lance Anderson. And community development, our managers Terry O'Donnell, Yunetta Smith, and Donna Wimp are our covenant specialists. Carol Holmes is our administrative assistant. Under maintenance operations, we have 2 programs, fleet and facilities. I'll go over the fleet program. So they provide preventative maintenance and repairs for the district's fleet and equipment. They schedule vehicles for maintenance, outsourcing larger repairs by local vendors. We also oversee and manage the enterprise fleet maintenance and management agreement. The fleet coordinator has continued to perform repairs and maintenance throughout the district, including fire apparatus and on-site backup generators. This year, Enterprise, we have received 15 new leased vehicles. We do continue to update all the information across fleet asset management platforms. This year, we've also sold or surplused 11 district-owned vehicles through public auction. We utilize GovDeals for that auction. And year-to-date, we have 392 fleet requests and a 90.3% completion rate. Under our facilities program, we do a lot of preventative maintenance at 49 facility locations. We did complete the alarm and access control system at 63 Spalding. We're in the process right now of completing the annual fire extinguisher recertification throughout the district. That's facilities and vehicles and equipment. We continue to update information across facility asset management platforms. We did start a mowing operations of district parcels this year. We've got 1 new member on staff to do that, as well as some equipment to do it with. We've also completed 706 PMs so far this year. Complete on-demand work orders, we had 412 year-to-date with an 87.6% completion rate. Under project development, one of the major activities is working with the departments to establish, develop, and complete projects. Under the utilities department so far this year, if we take a look at the 2024 manhole lining, Pixie Park water line looping, TP1 roof replacement, cured in place pipe, wells 4 and 7 pipeline location, and North Tank 100 repairs, all of those projects are complete. Wild Horse reuse pipeline, that project is complete. We're just trying to wrap up some paperwork to close that project out. Filters 5 and 6 rehabilitation, clarifiers 8 and 11 rehabilitation, those are both in construction. Generator replacement slab, those are currently in design. Generator there at River Pump Station as well, we need a new slab for a new additional generator over there, that's also in design. Continuing with the Utilities Department, North Purcell Boulevard transmission main, that is in construction. The PRV master plan, the Track 337 water line replacement, Cyclone Trail well line replacement, those are all out to bid. Homer Salini roadway reconstruction, that is in construction, and that one should be wrapped up here real soon. Wastewater treatment plant expansion, we're in the request for proposals, the RFP stage. North Tank 140, we're in design. Well development from lift station number 1 to Cattail Crossing, and the looping water main from Frying Pan to Tenderfoot, those projects are also in design. Utility street cut patching phase 1, that's the one that we have been waiting for quite a while. That one actually just was completed here not too long ago, and we do plan on doing a phase 2 for utility cut patching here pretty soon. We're going to be going out for quotes for that. The wastewater treatment plant UV disinfection upgrade is currently in design. We'll jump over to Parks and Recreation. We had tennis court resurfacing, Lavelle Park Playground, TAP 4 and 5 trails, that's the one along Joe Martinez, and baseball field number 1 fence replacement. All of those projects are complete. TAP Trail 6, that's the South Purcell Trail, and Civic Center Trail Phase 1, both of those projects are out to bid. Storage building at Lavelle Park, that is in construction. Civic Center Dog Park, that is out to bid. Pixie Park Playground, that is in construction. Going
complete.
down to Fire Department.
The Pixie Park's complete?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Fire Department, we have Fire Station number 1 renovation, that is in design. If we're looking at administration, we have the admin building. We're in the stage where we are preparing the request for proposal. 63 Spalding roof replacement, that's going to be a budget amendment, and we're going to be working on the design for that project, as well as the sidewalks that lead from the parking lot to the north of 63 Spalding to the doorways at 63 Spalding. Track 317 signage and vacation, we are currently awaiting approval through Planning and Development Department. I think that should be going to county commissioners here real soon. And the railroad tie fence repair, that's in construction. Go back one more. Yeah. Up in the upper right-hand corner, one of the things that we also do is we oversee the district's standard MS4 permit. To date, we've done 24 construction inspections and 48 post-construction inspections, so that is inspecting detention ponds throughout the district. All right. Community development. Committee of Architecture applications, beginning at the beginning of this year, going through the first meeting in August. We have 105 single-family applications, 15 multifamily applications, 1 commercial application, 232 accessory applications, and 12 variances. From an enforcement standpoint, we have had 319 reports of concern, with about 170 of them being resolved, so that is a 53% completion rate. We got a little bit of a slow start at the beginning of the year, trying to weave our way through the due process standards that Carl helped us put together. We should be probably catching up pretty quickly, I think, from this point on. Some of our due process steps is door hangers, which is something new. You can see one of our door hangers on the right-hand side of that slide. We try to go out and do a site visit, and if they're comfortable hanging a hanger on the residence, they hang the hanger. A lot of times that will get that issue resolved without going to the violation letter. Next step is violation letter. That has a 2-week minimum. And then we go to notice of hearing with a $100 fine, again, a 2-week minimum. And then if they are found in violation, then they would not only pay the $500 or the $100 fine. After 30 days, if they did not resolve the issue, they would pay up to a $500 fine and receive a strong letter from general counsel. And then at the end of the year, if those fines go unpaid, we send a notice of collection to the treasurer, and those fines are collected in the same way they are for property taxes. And then when we do have a situation that goes unresolved and COA believes that they want to recommend litigation, they would send a recommendation to the board for approval to litigate. So, any questions?
On the 4 and 7 well pipe relocation, what's that benefit? Is that for cattails crossing? Is that for pumping water into cattails?
No, I think 4 and 7, I think we installed new pumps on that, right? And got them back up and running, and where did those go?
It ends up in that cyclone well line.
Yes.
We had to do the cyclone well line because when it was pumping, it just kept break after break after break. And so we have to replace the line before we can officially start using it.
And are they going into our water supply or
It'll go to cattails.
cattails? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is, the plan is to free up water from the river, correct?
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Anybody?
This also, for the last one, I was thinking, are there any concerns that we should be aware of, or you have that you can present to us at this time to ensure that we're aware of anything that we might have to look forward to addressing in the future with your department? And this goes to extends to you guys, the utilities board as well. Anything that is concerning to you, or anything you want to have us address or see that we might need to look forward to in the future to addressing? Does that make sense? Are there any concerns you guys are having?
I don't believe so.
I can't think of any at this moment.
Okay, I just want to make sure, just in case there's something out there, and,
Sure.
let us know so we can take care of it, because we can't fix what we don't know.
Yeah. As you see, we have lots of projects in the
Yeah.
pipeline, various stages.
But everything seems to be pretty good on track?
Yes,
As far
yeah.
as you guys are tracking?
I think Sherry and her crew and working with the departments, they've been very good in collaborating and getting things done and running it through the procurement department, making sure that we're doing things according to policy. That is a big collaboration
Right.
involving all those
Want to make
folks.
sure to ask that question if you guys have any concerns, so that's what we're here to help do, facilitate. Thank you. That's all I got.
Completed PMs, is that projects managed?
That's preventative maintenance.
Oh, bad guess. Preventative maintenance.
One more thing, sorry about
That's
that. Last we had, for maintenance tech, am I under the impression we hired another maintenance tech, right?
So for
it-
maintenance techs, facilities, yes.
Oh, but not for vehicles?
So I think you're referring to the facility, or the fleet coordinator. We have one guy.
Right.
He keeps busy. One of the struggles that we do have, I'm glad you brought it up, is coverage. We really don't have a on-call program. With only having one person, you can't expect somebody to be available 24/7.
Right.
And we had the discussion about, you know, our 529 Avenida Del Oro being our new fleet location, expanding that fleet location over time and potentially in the future, maybe picking up another staff member so we could have that coverage that what we really need.
And the current maintenance tech is almost like a SME on something, I can't remember what you were explaining to me, but a pump or something like that on the trucks or the fire trucks or?
Yeah, so recently, we've got involved in repairing and replacing truck pumps, whether it be fire apparatus or utilities vac trucks. Jeremiah recently completed some EVT pump classes, so he'd be certified on the fire apparatus.
Okay.
So, yeah, he's come along pretty well, but an extra person at some point would really come in handy.
Right, and I remember that's one of the things I was gonna get at is, might be one of the things we look at doing so we can help this kid have a little, you know, that offset, so.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Roof replacement, 63 Spalding.
Mhm.
You said you're entering the design phase. What does that mean?
So when we did the building inspection as part of our due diligence before we purchased the building, we found out that the roof leaks. We also found out that it wasn't necessarily repairable. It needed to be replaced. So after we purchased the building, we came to the conclusion that we might put this on as a budget amendment this year, because it'll cost less money to do it this year than next year, just from an inflation standpoint. And then if we limit that amount of time to get that repair, we minimize the amount of risk in water damage.
So what does that process look like to get from now to get the roof on?
So right now, we're working with one of our roof consultants to help us out with details on the roof, things that need to be done, so we can put together a good bid package, and then we'll put that out to bid, competitively bid opening, and then we'll be back to the board to approve the award to the lowest responsive bidder.
Okay. How long do you think that would take, or that'll take?
Well, first thing, we got to get a budget amendment so we can free up the dollars to do the work.
Okay.
Sherry, how long for the roof replacement do you think with our roof consultant to get a bid package put together?
I don't think it will be very long. He's supposed to come down and do a site visit next week. I would say we'd be out to bid by the end of September.
Okay. And then the roof consultant is just someone that the district has, like an on-call type?
In this situation, we're anticipating that it will be under $3,500. So it'd be a situation where we don't need to go out for 3 quotes.
To replace the roof? Or?
No, this is just for the design.
Oh, I was gonna say, okay.
Yeah. And so, and we did something similar on the roof replacement over at TP1. He was our roof consultant there as well. He did a very good job assisting us getting a good bid package put together.
Okay. And then, you said 15 new lease vehicles?
Mm-hmm.
Those were ones that were onboarded this year?
That's correct. And I think we have a total of 20 or 21 ultimately that will be onboarded.
Okay.
But we've received shipment of 15 of those at this time.
Didn't we also, in the budget meeting this morning, you mentioned something about doing away with 6 vehicles?
Yeah, so, and that's going into the last year, I think we eliminated 6 vehicles last year when we assessed the mileage being underutilized.
Mm-hmm.
We identified 3 more when we started looking at lease replacements for 2026. We identified 3 more that were being underutilized that we're going to eliminate. And that's something that we're going to do every year as we start to replace vehicles. go in and take a look at how many miles were put on it the previous year, whether or not they have been utilized.
So this 15 new leased vehicles,
Yep.
that's not, those are these vehicles that we already have in the, we're just
Yeah, they
swapping them
were-
out?
Yeah, we swapped them
Okay,
out.
gotcha.
yes,
Okay,
yeah.
because I was like, you got rid of 6, but you're
Yeah.
adding 15. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's
All
that's
right.
a
Gotcha.
even trade.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then can you elaborate on the maintenance process? I'm just curious how it works with Enterprise, because I know that we pay for some maintenance on the leased vehicles.
Yep.
So could you just give like a short breakdown of how that works with,
Sure.
hey, I got an oil change, what does that look like versus, hey, I got blown transmission?
Sure. So right now, we have 2 different types of leases. And I'll say prior to 2025, we have leases, and we've also have a full maintenance agreement with Enterprise. If we use their approved vendors in terms of mechanic shops, we get a reduced rate on the shop labor. I think it's $120 an hour as opposed to some places that might be $180 or above. So we get that reduced shop rate. And 2025 and after leases, where we pay $50 a month, and that covers all of the maintenance on those vehicles, with the exception of tires and brakes.
Okay.
So, yeah, in the pre-2025, there is a $10 charge per vehicle, as opposed to the $57 and some odd cents for the 2025s and after.
Okay.
And that helps us balance the workload. With one person, we cannot maintain 68 passenger cars and pickups. So it was one of the things that we looked into when we had to reduce our fleet staff with the IGA with Pueblo County, and it's worked out pretty well.
Okay. Thanks.
What was the count before the IGA? How many vehicles did we have?
I would have to check on that. My recollection is we had a reduction of maybe 1/3 of the entire fleet when we lost
So that's
streets and roads.
30 vehicles?
Well, probably not 30. When I take a look at equipment, that would have included water trucks, graders, front end loaders, all of those things. So when I said 1/3 reduction, I was looking at all of the equipment together.
Well, you were talking about leased passenger vehicles.
Yes, and I don't have a count on what streets and roads and engineering had.
Going off, Christian J. Hine, District Manager, going off memory, not concrete numbers, before the transition took place, we had over 80 vehicles within the fleet to include leased vehicles for that, not talking about equipment. Some of those were completely done away with as we out-processed the Public Works Department as it was. Some of those, if they were vehicles that other departments could use, they did transfer out of the department. So I think it's probably, I could say, some form of 10+ vehicles probably got lost with Public Works, but some of them might have ended up in different departments who had a need for them. That's just off memory.
All right. This would probably be for you too. So in 63, I distinctly remember 63 Spalding in conversations, we were assured the roof was good.
Yeah, I was going through
So
that.
did that come into play for negotiations for?
So if you'll recall, we did have the appraisal and the commercial inspection done that did identify that the roof was buckling or sagging in certain places, and recommended a professional review the roof and provide a updated cost estimate analysis for it, and that came into play with that figure that, did you throw out the figure or no? I don't remember if you said it.
I'm gonna say,
I know it off the top of my head is.
yeah, I'm gonna say it was 140,000.
Yeah, 143,000, that was estimated as far as a full roof replacement, which at that time was expected to be, because the issue identified is the annex. So the idea of expanding that building is what likely led to that roof being not one full piece that wouldn't have problems in the future. The actual concern of leaking did not come from that report. there was a follow-on leak that occurred from what we believe is the stucco outside of the building, less the roof itself. So that did come into play in negotiations. That is part of why that number and figure went down to 710,000.
Well, I thought that the appraiser came back at 700,000.
That included the commercial inspection, which identified the roof issue, and then we negotiated from there.
And then we went up to 710.
Yes.
So the $143,000 roof was not really taken into account
It was.
of the end of purchase price, because we offered them 710.
The end appraisal number was 700,000, which took in consideration the inspection, the commercial inspection, which identified the roof issue. The negotiation took place between those two numbers, the total without the roof, and then what the appraisal came back with the roof as an issue.
Compared to the asking price.
Yeah. I believe, and this is off memory, that part of that number and figure wouldn't have been a full 143,000 had it been fixed. It probably would have been 50 to 75,000. So that was the number that would have been the high number if there was no issue with the roof. With the issue with the roof, it identified 700,000, and we negotiated pretty close to the 700,000.
That's it. Did you have another question?
I have a couple. It's probably just verbiage. It's just freaking me out. So we need a new slab for a generator,
Yes,
and we need to design that.
correct.
Why do we need to design a slab for a generator?
These generators are huge. They're very heavy. You need to have a design for them to make sure that you can carry the load. They're not going exactly in the same location as the generators are right now. We're going to try to save some money by not taking the roof off of the generators that exist. We're going to leave them in. We're going to drag that generator out, and the new generator will go out on a slab outside of that roofed area, which shouldn't be a problem because the generators are designed to be outside. But they do need to have a proper foundation on them.
So are we anticipating a hefty price tag on this, or?
I don't think so. I think the price tag is already included in the generator for Lift Station 1, Lift Station 2, River Pump Station. Those are rollover dollars from this year. We're anticipating that this project will go into next year possibly because we're waiting. There's some lead time in getting these generators after we order them. I think the money's already accounted for with the rollover money.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that it will be.
So what's,
Huh?
For the 3 generator pads?
Yes.
It's around 20,000.
Yeah. I think that the funding is already secured for those
Okay.
through 2025.
so 20,000, we're looking at quotes, not an IFB or certainly not an RFP.
It depends, it kind of depends.
Depends on the work.
Yeah. Although I think that it will probably be done by the same company that is going to install and connect the generators. I think that that's probably the way that will work out, to keep that kind of turnkeyed.
So that leads me to my next question, I guess. Why wouldn't we just get quotes from somebody that works in concrete to come out and say, this is what we need? How much would you
Concrete
charge us
guys-
for that?
Concrete guys are going to be able to tell you the means and methods on how they would go about doing it. But this is going to have reinforcement in it to carry the load. That needs to be designed similarly like you would have a foundation for a building. It's not going to be super elaborate, but it does need to be engineered to ensure that we don't have any settlement after we install it.
For a $20,000 project?
It'll be rolled into the generator installation.
So a similar question with the roof. I mean, if any one of us, anyone in the public would want to replace our roof,
Mhm.
we would ask roofing contractors to come out and take a look and give us a quote.
Right?
So why do we need a design for that?
This is a little more complex than your typical residential roof. That's a flat top roof. So, you need to take a look at structural, you need to take a look at what the damage is, all of these other things. But it's not your typical re-roofing residential.
Is it TPI? Are they looking at TPI or hot road?
I don't know what we're looking at. TPO?
What?
TPO.
TPO.
Okay.
Doesn't the generator manufacturer have specs on the slab that they want to put their generator on? Have we asked?
We have somebody on board that will do that for us.
You have to base it on the soils.
Yeah. Got to have the soil bearing strength as well. It's not, one size fits all on your foundation. It's dependent on your soil bearing strength.
How big area are these slabs?
Probably a 10 by 15.
10 by 15.
Okay.
I will share, looking quickly online, just for the general commercial generators, and are they often professionally designed? The answer is yes. Concrete slabs for large commercial generators must be professionally designed. Unlike simple residential installations, these projects require custom engineered foundation to properly support the significant weight and dynamic forces of the specific equipment. So it does seem that it's common.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, moving on to action items. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah,
Thank you.
HB&A Fire Station 1 modification agreement by Mr. Brian Caserta, our fire chief.
Good evening. What I have for you tonight is based upon our discussion back on July 14th of 2025, where we were directed to go ahead and review and revisit the Fire Station 1 renovation options. During that discussion, the board looked at options 2 and 3 as potentials to move forward with any possible construction or renovation of Fire Station 1. During that time, we had also had on the agenda contract modifications that included fees for services that were up to date at that point, as well as projected fees to finish out the scope of the project. However, with the new direction of the board to look at options 2 and 3 of the designs, we were asked to come back with fee modifications to complete those 2 different phase options. So tonight before you, you have a resolution approving those fee impacts with a total amount of $72,250. That breaks down to $67,300 due currently on the work that had been done up to July 14th until we put a stop work order on the project. And then at the board's direction, HB&A provided the cost total of $4,950 to complete plans for option 3. Be happy to answer any other questions.
This is what we discussed in Friday's work session.
Yeah,
Yep.
right. Yeah, the direction I had at that time was just to get the cost associated approved, and then we'll continue then with the scope as the board has directed.
And the 72,250 is the balance plus the 4,900.
That is correct. The balance that we have outstanding right now is the 67,300, and then the 4,950 to complete the set of plans.
Is that for the detached?
Yes,
option?
that is correct. That's correct.
And President Vickers, the resolution has been updated with your guys' guidance on Friday as far as the amount as well, just so that you know that that is reflective.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my error on the resolution. I didn't even think about updating the resolution, so that was me.
Okay, any motions? Or?
I make a motion to approve what we have at the moment to move forward with this modification of the H1 HB&A Fire Station 1 modification agreement as explained to us. Is that right?
I'll second it. Have a motion seconded to approve the modification with HB&A, or RS and HB&A for the $72,250, which would include the new design element for the detached option. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is the Coyote Trail asphalt repair by Director Jim Blazing.
Good evening, President Vicker, members of the board, Jim Blazing, Director of Utilities, and
Deputy Director Kevin Love of Utility Operations.
as we discussed in our Friday workshop, again, this is related to the lift station incident we had on May 19th. We're ready to wrap up all the costs on this, and we're in front of you for approval for the repair of the $65,013, and with the 10% contingency, it'd be a total of $71,514.30. And I stand for questions.
And Director Axworthy, concerned Friday was looked at and.
Yeah, I don't know if we followed up, we apologize, but.
We didn't, no, I think it just had to do with highway.
Yes, so they do have, it seems like two subsidiary companies when it comes to one that transports and freights and then one that might do this work. Did look into that and still confirmed, I think, with our procurement manager when they reached out to them, so I think we're good to go.
Good, I would agree.
Thank you.
Could I just get a reminder on what happens if a contractor that's awarded a bid messes up or does bad work? What's the financial penalty, if you will, for that contractor?
So there are certain languages within the contract. If it's something that, there's an error on their part that they have to then pay certain bills for or are otherwise found liable for certain things, usually their bond or insurance might cover some of that. If it's a direct issue that comes with the district and operations or they're unsatisfactory in their performance, we have certain aspects of accountability. Depending on the severity, it might be, hey, if you can address this within this time frame, it costs nothing to the district, allow them to move forward with being able to rectify the issue. If it's either repeated behavior or significant enough, then there are ways to be able to terminate or exit the contract. If a concern came up that, for instance, their bid, what they're saying they can do it for comes into conflict with what they try to mod in the future, we have abilities to account for that too. So I don't know if you have anything specific that you would either mention or add to it, but those are the general terms of we have certain performance expectations and then the project managers are responsible for enforcing them.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions?
No, I'll make the motion to approve the resolution, the award IFB 2025 WW 2501 for the Coyote Trail asphalt repair to Rockham Inc.
I'll second.
I have a motion and seconded to approve the IFB-2025-WW2501 Coyote Trail asphalt repair. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we're looking at discussion items. Red Moon Development and Construction Incorporated letter of intent presented by Christian Hine, our district manager, Marcos Reyes, our economic support specialist.
President Vickers, esteemed board members, I'm bringing before you a letter of intent. The Red Moon would like to purchase approximately 30.66 acres, 27 district parcels located in Pueblo West. They are offering to purchase these for $194,375. And this is phase one of two phases. This is the south side of this block, and they are potentially going to purchase the north side. Their interest is to put 100 homes on each phase to do something like a rental. These homes will be approximately 1,400 square feet, 3 to 4 bedrooms, 5,000 square foot lot, fenced in. They'll have like a pool, fitness center, things like that. Walking trails, and it'll be looked over by a property maintenance company.
So they'll vacate all the lot lines? Is that
Yes,
the
they're
plan?
gonna go ahead and vacate all the lot lines. They're gonna take care of all of that. We still have to work with the water and stuff like that. They do know that they're gonna have to bring water in. But yes, they wanna at least know the board is willing to do this before they start moving forward with things.
I had a question, now that's lost it. Anybody else have a question?
Well, thanks for updating what the plan is, because initially that seemed a little strange.
Hold on,
It's a bunch of rentals on 1 acre lots.
Bree, can we pull up the letter of intent, please, the last page of it? The LOI, the last page of the LOI, please?
Is this
The map.
left it marked as confidential? Would you
Oh.
like this to be shown publicly?
Just the last page, potentially. It's just gonna be the, this right here.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me just pull up the last page.
So Director Pasternak, as soon as we get this up, as you can see the south side with all the properties, those are what they're gonna purchase. There's one contingent lot that they are gonna be in contact with the owner for that. They will go ahead and it's interesting when you look at it, the way they're gonna have all the homes in there and all that, they're gonna be right there on the south side. So all those lot lines will be vacated and everything else, and it'll be placed in there. So it'll be all for rent, and they'll never be for sale.
It's like an apartment complex with,
With homes, 3 to 4 bedroom homes, right? Their homes are gonna range about 1,400 square feet, so. We're looking about $28 million worth of homes on the, each phase.
How many houses would be in there?
100 on each phase. Average value at 200 square foot is about $280,000 per home. So assessed value and everything else is about the same.
looks like a pretty significant drainage down through the middle of that, so are they just gonna keep that separate? Do they have, at this point, do they have a conceptual
So-
drawing?
What they're gonna be doing is they wanna get y'all's basically opinion on this, if you guys are ready to move forward. They've been on the site about 5 or 6 times. Once they do that, then they'll go ahead and they'll start drafting things and going through sketch plan review, contacting our department, and then other departments within to see what they have to do with the retainage and drainage and all that. But as you guys know, that for a project that size, that's can be kind of costly. So they just want to know that, are you guys going to be willing to move forward with this as a board or not? So this is just,
Have we had any movement at all on lots over there?
no. They will probably be putting in a sewer line on the bottom part of there at Spalding. That's part of one of the things they'll be doing. So,
Yeah, because that's what I was gonna ask. These were initially A3s, weren't they? Most of them?
no, they are actually all R4s and R5s.
Oh, okay.
So as far as the zoning, they will not have to change any of the zoning, things like that. I've already checked with COA, Community Development. I had a brief talk with the manager, Ms. O'Donnell, and we looked at the things, so this wouldn't necessarily create any issues that way.
Do you know of any areas where they've done this before?
Actually, yes, I do. So they were referred to us by Carmen Howard, She's the director for Pueblo County Planning and Development. The cities she previously worked at, this company has done over $125 million in development with them in there. They've also done development in different areas. But, so they were directly referred to us by Carmen from Pueblo County.
Okay.
So,
Have you seen the work at all?
we looked at one of their, it was like an RV storage, and it was really, really beautiful. There was also a little housing community next to it. The homes were really tightly packed though. For us, they're looking at something more spaced out. It was very clean. It was very, lack of better terms, it was very beautiful.
Okay.
So,
Thank you. I was looking them up too.
Just for the board's awareness, we do have an item on executive session. If there is any instruction you would like to give, be able to utilize that time to be able to do so. Thank you.
And we don't have any idea how much water they're looking at having to bring in, do we?
no, not at this time. And like I said, this is just preliminary. They want to get all this taken care of first.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. Anybody? Thank you.
Thank you.
So do we have a direction to move forward with this?
Well, we have an executive session to
Oh,
to
so-
come up with that.
Okay.
Next, we have the informational brief and discussion on legal counsel services presented by Mr. Carl Cumley, our general counsel, Christian Hine, district manager, and Brian Axworthy, board member.
Can't wait to hear from you, Vice President.
Yeah, you've been holding out, man.
Well, yes.
I'll jump in. Good evening, members of the board. Carl Cumley, General Counsel for the district. You have in your packets tonight a memorandum from our office detailing the work that we do for the district in a rather abbreviated fashion. It does include a breakout by cost center, about 29 different cost centers for the district from 2024 for 2024 and the first half of 2025, showing the work that we've been engaged in. We also reached out to Ms. Cordova to get a percentage of the district's budget which is expended in legal fees, and did a little bit of investigation on our own to the comparable expenditures by several other governmental entities. I think we came in relatively positively on that score, that metric, but I will confess, our investigation was at a high level and did not include data from the Special District Association, and we did not reach out to the managers of other districts to learn the amount that those districts spend on their legal services. I don't know whether that's something you were able to pull together. I know we have talked about that casually in the past.
Fortunately, nothing ready for tonight.
Okay. We certainly can come back to you with more information on that score. If you have any questions on what we do on any of our cost centers and work that other attorneys in our firm other than myself perform for the district, I'm happy to engage in those discussions. And I certainly am very interested in any feedback that you have for us. The one thing that we have not been good about in the past, that we are working hard to get on top of, is getting much more timely in our turnaround when we get drafting requests or investigative requests from staff. So that is something that we're working hard on getting on top of, so our turnaround is much quicker. With that, happy to entertain any questions at all.
Carl, I know we've talked about it off and on for a while. and maybe this is where my name got got thrown in the mix. So, the board expense that's listed on the document, 113,000. Most of that is, I'm assuming, the meeting time.
Some of it is meeting time, some of it is also legal research on questions involving board responsibilities, conflicts of interest, things like that. So it's not all meeting time. As you know, we do expend about 6 hours a month in travel time to the district. And I believe that is the one substantial difference between our services for the district and if you were to hire in-house counsel.
Right. So I know we've
Sorry, I was going to offer that. I think when we did, and I'll have to double check the numbers because I know we had only analyzed earlier this year, probably the first quarter, when we first started a little bit of discussion with the previous board back in May. I think the annual mileage and travel came out to about mileage 4,000, travel 21,000 in total cost for that year, reflective of what is being paid into that. So it's not the majority of that. Was it
that's
113?
about 25.
So total 25, yeah.
Okay.
So the value of that, and some of that being both the travel towards it, the mileage towards it, and then the time spent.
We also, when we do travel down here and we have the opportunity to split that travel with another client, I represent clients all over the state and in New Mexico as well. And so we try to put those travel times together to try and minimize them where we can.
Okay. What are your thoughts on doing virtual participation?
I will tell you honestly that I dislike virtual meetings just because you don't have a read of the room, what's going on in terms of interests and questions of the board, but also questions from staff. Usually when we come down here, today was a little bit of an exception, but usually every time I travel down here, I try to have face-to-face meetings with staff about things that we're working on. I think it's important to have a personal connection with the community, with staff, and with the board. In that regard, I wish that the distance was a little shorter between my office and Pueblo West. But at this point, I can't change that myself. I'm unlikely to do it prior to my leaving my firm, which probably won't happen for another 5 or 6 years.
Okay. Thank you for your honesty.
What is, you have Pueblo West personnel, what does that mean?
That personnel is when there are job terminations.
Oh, okay.
We often get questions about particular fact-based questions from Ms. Pankey. I often am the first stop when those are asked. If they are very complex, I will refer them to Carmen Danielson in our office, who is an experienced human resources litigator, and she often responds to Ms. Pankey when I don't know the answer right offhand.
So on your document up top, it has $324,997.22. Is that to date, or is that?
That was 2024.
Oh, 2024. So we're on track for 2025 at 469, 796?
That's all of 2024 and the first half of 2025.
Oh, okay.
I would say that
So-
the average or the closer is probably about 300,000 per year, factoring that in, and it seems, I think we are on track for that again.
I think that's about right.
Okay.
It did go down significantly. I think the first year it happened was about 360,000 when it started, and it has been dropping since then.
Okay.
The only other thing I would add to the personnel question is it is HR. I would say I think that oftentimes Ms. Pankey, our Director of Human Resources, uses Employers Council as well. which comes with the offset or already paid for costs oftentimes. It doesn't cost to pick up the phone and call them. But when it comes to the actual action, oftentimes that is consultation with our legal counsel to make sure before we take that step, especially if it's something a little bit more with consternation.
What's the chain of command, or who has access to you?
Who has access to me?
Throughout, is it
All the board
anybody can
members.
call?
Yeah. All the board members, obviously, Christian, and senior management, including the water department, where I spend a fair amount of my time. Real estate, Matt Marcos, their office. Sean Winters, a fair amount with his office. But it is senior management that reaches out and calls us. And Christian has tweaked that over the years so that there are pretty straightforward lines of chain of command.
So essentially department heads, district manager, and board members, with very rare exceptions where there have been either economic support specialists or ongoing conversations about maybe a specific item. Generally, what we have tried to do is maximize the amount of time we spend talking to Carl at once, so that way it's a cost sharing rather than offshoot costs that might come up from calling him outside of a regular scheduled meetings. There are obviously exceptions, and sometimes there's a water-specific meeting, but we do what has affectionately been called Tuesdays with Carl, which is a weekly meeting where we actually bring all the issues forward, so that way it reduces costs to the district.
We do also do things, for example, today as I was driving down, we had a 15 or 20-minute meeting with the water team. That gets billed against the travel time, so gets carved out of the travel time and will be specifically billed to the water utility. But that's also a way that we kill two birds with one stone, if you will.
No, I'm happy with what's happening, but, you know, I'm always keeping a track of expenses. And when we had an in-house attorney, it was probably, what, $150,000? What we were spending a year?
That sounds right. I think his, I'm speaking off the cuff as far as recalling salaries, I think his was pretty low on the level of what most general counsels pay, and I think it was about $120,000, $130,000 plus the benefits on top. As for awareness for the entire board, we entered into the arrangement with Dietz and Davis after a two-pronged search for looking for legal counsel services for the district after losing our last one. That came with both a look for an in-house and an external, I think it's out-of-house versions of it. Yeah,
We call them outhouse counsel.
That came with the result of there was one applicant who went internal, or who would have been internal if he had pursued it. One applicant that was completely external, that was Dietz and Davis, and a third applicant that started out external but was open to the idea of potentially transitioning towards it. The first person dropped out as soon as they found out that they would be sole general counsel and not have paralegals or other support staff to be able to assist them. I don't recall the specific reason the one transitioning had stepped out, or if they had truly stepped out, or if it had been a decision between Dietz and Davis and there. Honestly, I do not recall how that occurred for it. When we've done our general analysis looking at the workload, we do recognize at least one prime or principal legal counsel, and then 1 to 2 paralegals would probably be appropriate for the amount of work that oftentimes we see Dietz and Davis do. That could come up with the average for general counsels at $150,000 to $180,000 themselves, plus another $50,000 or more, depending on if you have multiple. So you're just looking in the ballpark with benefits of $250,000 to maybe $300,000 at the high end, probably for it. So there could be that cost loss or cost savings when it comes to it. However, even with those 2 to 3 people, as Carl pointed out, oftentimes one general counsel, one lawyer will not have specificity in all topics a district might have to do, and so they often have to outsource. One of the benefits of Dietz and Davis has been that at times Carl might not be the principal. He has partners or paralegals he can rely, or is that the right term, paralegals?
Yeah.
To rely on to be able to provide additional support that might be less costly or more specific. So it has been something we've measured as pretty
Yeah,
pretty
they are, I think
cost-effective.
they are deeper as far as resources are concerned.
We do have a pretty deep bench in special district election law with Carolyn Steffel, in HR with Carmen Danielson, in real estate with Robin Kuby. Water obviously is my wheelhouse. Real estate is also in my wheelhouse, so I do think you get a pretty good value. The other thing that we bring to the table is, and I haven't run the numbers on this, but I've been in practice for 44 years. Ms. Cubey for more than 30, Ms. Steffel for more than 20, Ms. Danielson for about 30. So you're getting an awful lot of real-world experience for those lawyers, too.
And then one other thing I would probably offer for board members who may not be yet aware, when we did have in-house general counsel, obviously the charge was what the charge was for that person's salary. And so you would see that previous to, I think, 2023 and prior, reflected in the administration budget. When we transitioned to external and actually charging for the services, we changed that to charge per department who would utilize them, which helps keep costs, because as soon as somebody knows that they're picking up the phone and that comes with the cost for it, they're understanding that before they do so, which just helps bring it down too.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl.
Please
Anything
do ask any questions you have at any time. I believe very strongly that this is something that is appropriate to be handled in a public session. And so I think it's important that your constituents know that as well.
Thank you.
And sorry for adding one more. To your, I think, question about who has access to Carl and how does that work in the future, I think it's something to recognize that could go in the bylaws as far as revisions in the future, so that there's clear expectations from a board's perspective of how they engage and interact with Carl along with the staff. So that's something we'll prepare as well.
Thank you. Okay, next we go into strategic discussions. I'm going to grab a cup of coffee, but what the first one is Committee of Architecture. I just wanted to bring to the board the Committee of Architecture and what they're really lined out to do, and what maybe we may be venturing into areas that possibly are left alone for other entities. The Committee of Architecture is specifically tasked for approving structures, new builds, any structure, fence, patio, to approve the aesthetic architecture of that. And this is simply discussion. I think we're venturing into areas that things that are on the table here are ADUs, whether or not they are going to require additional water tap. I'm not sure that the Committee of Architecture is qualified to be in that discussion, or even needs to be in that discussion, because we have a water department that can handle that. Then we have home occupations that are coming. Those are zoning issues for the most part. Do we want a committee at some point trying to determine whether or not somebody can have a home occupation? That's really outside of their wheelhouse. We fall under county zoning. And then even as far as sketch plan reviews, I think it's good for Sean to attend those in commercial settings. I'm not sure that we need the committee represented there or committee members represented there. Anyway, I just wanted to open a discussion so that the board knows what directions the committee may be going in, and whether or not they think that that's something that they really should be involved in. So,
Are those the bylaws?
these are the Declaration of Reservations.
Okay. So does the COA have any bylaws, or? Sorry.
They do have bylaws. I don't think they'll cover those type of comments. It's mostly how the board members or the committee members themselves operate.
Right.
I think what President Vickers brings a good highlight to, or a spotlight to, is that the Declaration of Reservations probably were not made to be able to be forever, one, though they're lasting a long time.
Because we're not fully built out.
What's that?
Because we're not fully built out.
Correct, and that's why there's a clause for everybody's awareness that enforcement occurs up until a tract, which is neighborhood of, let's say, 100 homes. Once it's 90% built out, the covenants remain. However, the district or the Committee of Architecture as the body no longer can enforce them themselves. And the theory behind that, was more for the sale of lots than it was for the preservation of the covenants. They still wanted the ability for people to keep them, because that's obviously why they moved here. But for the developer, it's more important that they sold the lots and saw the development occur. And once you get to 90% build out, you're probably, the last 10% is not as challenging to see, or not as problematic if they don't see that happen. But I'm not sure how much more you could speak to this. The history of the Declaration of Reservations with McCulloch, with the Triarch Board, coming to the district and becoming those authorities that now are involved between a Board of Directors of Metropolitan District and the Committee of Architecture with a covenant and architectural enforcement authority has been a candid history with a lot of challenges with, I think, the continuity and challenges with the exact authority, what was expected of it. So I think highlighting a fair point towards it, and I would say, to your point, the Declaration of Reservations probably don't specify when it comes to whether it's ADUs or home occupancy, a lot of the things that were truly entrusted to the Committee of Architecture, and in some cases left their architectural and design services or design review. I believe, I'll try to find the language for it. It's often left a subjective judgment for specific things that may not be covered, but not, sorry, how it's interpreted, not what's not covered. Try to find it.
Okay. Well, I don't know, you kind of alluded to how things used to be. I was first put on the committee back in probably 2007. At that point, they were governed by the Triarch Committee, which the Board of Directors appointed people to the Triarch Committee. Triarch was a private corporation. And that was done so at the time. They thought that they were going to keep an arm's length from the Metro Board to have any dealings with COA, so that potential lawsuits would go to COA and Triarch and not filter their way into the Board of Directors. However, the Metro District was putting money into the COA. They were supplementing their budget. And then in 2008, the board that I was on felt that there was no real direct representation for the public. Their tax monies were being expended in a private corporation, and the state constitution also says that you can't give money to a private corporation as a state body. So we felt that it was necessary to bring the COA, if we were going to continue to give them money, then the Board of Directors should be in control of it as far as being able to answer to public concerns. Before, if you had a problem with COA, it was pretty much, there was no recourse. It was you did this, and this is the way it was. So we did change it. We implemented the Board of Directors as the declarant. We also implemented an appeal process for disgruntled people so that they could have an opportunity to appeal decisions. And it was never intended that it would actually evolve into a arm of government, so to speak. We really wanted the autonomy, but also the oversight, because tax money was being expended for that. So fast forward to today, that's why I'm concerned about getting into areas that are not really the wheelhouse for the Committee of Architecture. It says, this is our rule book, and this can't be changed. The Board of Directors can't change this. COA can't change this. The only way that these declarations are changed is through a vote of the tracts, individual tracts. And there are specificities as to when that can happen. It's a complicated document to try to weave your way through. But it says, it shall be the general purpose of this committee to provide for the maintenance of high standard of architecture and construction in such a manner as to enhance the aesthetic properties and structural soundness of the developed subdivision. So you're really, and this is what it was for years. It was, you brought your project to the Committee of Architecture, and then if they liked the aesthetics and the way it looked, and it met, the requirements of the setbacks, and we didn't get involved in zoning issues. We didn't get involved in anything other than what the committee was laid out to do. There were, people had to go to zoning anyway to get sign-offs. It was, you know, they were kind of forced into that line of operation anyway. So I just think we need to look at that as a board and see what we really think that they should be getting into and not getting into. Anything else?
Yeah, no, I think well said, because I think the mechanism or the articulation that's missing is if you look at the declaration of reservation, it talks about the declarant, which at the time I think started with McCulloch or.
It was actually,
as the lawyer's.
lawyer's title was the
Yeah,
declarant.
lawyer's title Pueblo Incorporated. And then it transitioned at some point through that process, 2008 sounds like,
Yeah.
towards Pueblo West, the Metropolitan District becoming the declarant. But the Declaration of Reservations is very loose or light on describing what the declarant's responsibilities are, other than it says a declarant shall appoint a committee of architecture, hereinafter sometimes called committee consisting of 5 persons. Declarant shall have the further power to create and fill vacancies on the committee. And then it describes a lot of roles and responsibilities of the committee from there on out, which I think you read off the one I was thinking of. The other one that I hinted at is that the committee shall be guided by and except when in their sole discretion good planning would dictate to the contrary, controlled by this declaration of reservations. The committee shall make available a copy of this declaration of reservations to any and all lot owners upon request. That's where that subjectivity of how they're able to operate and what they're able to state based on what they're expected to do, which is provide for the maintenance of a high standard of architecture and construction in such a manner as to enhance the aesthetic properties and structural soundness of the developed subdivision. The only aspect of this broadening a little bit of what we're looking at is Title 32 describes what special districts are authorized to do, and it lists specific services that make up a special district, whether it's fire protection, whether it's mosquito control, any of those. It doesn't actually list in that the covenant enforcement. It's in a separate section within Title 32 that says metropolitan districts can also provide covenant or design enforcement standards through it, and that's where they draw this power from to be able to do this separately. So it did transition to the district being involved with it. The question is, what mechanism does as I understand it, does the board want, or do they want one at all, where they're directing or overseeing the committee of architecture after appointment?
Yeah, I didn't mean to imply that we shouldn't be doing enforcement. That's all part of the covenants or the COA's purview also. But just other areas,
Yeah.
concerns.
I think Pueblo West is a challenging environment, right? So, just a 2.5 years or so I've been on the board now. Learned a lot about the development of Pueblo West and how it came to be and some of the struggles that we deal with today based on what occurred in the past. So Pueblo West did not grow as a typical city where you slowly build out and you sell lots and you grow naturally and so forth. All the lots were attempted to be sold right away and we're left with vacant land and that causes all of these additional heartaches with the declaration of reservations and so forth, and having to continually maintain that. To Christian's point, this is an ongoing project or need. I think in terms of the public, a lot of people look to the COA to help them as a resource to satisfy some of the demands in maintaining a nicer Pueblo West. And that's where the complaints or concerns come from. So to be able to address that is important. I know we've struggled with the topic of, is the COA technically acting as an HOA would, and where do you draw that line? And I think as a board, we had all agreed that we didn't want to be an HOA, that would come from each individual tract having to develop their own and maintain that appropriately. But I understand what you're saying, Bill. We don't want to get too big for our britches.
Well, I don't think we have the authority to do that.
Right.
Also, that's
right. So I feel your concern. I think it would be a separate work session, honestly, to really go round and round about what are the base rules versus where have we grown and where are we currently at? And try to outline those boundaries.
Yeah, that would be a good idea with the board and with the departments, you know, the, John and Terry.
The committee itself, yeah, absolutely.
And kind of just, so that everybody really understands, well, I don't know that anybody really understands these, but I think we just need to address some issues.
I don't want to steal anybody else's thoughts as we continue to discuss, but one thing I forgot to mention, because you brought up the finding and where that mechanism came from. Interestingly enough, that wasn't something engineered specifically for the district or the covenant or the Committee of Architecture to do. What occurred is that there was already legislation recognizing that metro districts providing covenant enforcement standards, whether they had a Committee of Architecture or something similar, were running into similar like HOA challenges, and there was a, I think, concerted effort to get that under control to make sure that there wasn't anything unfair about that process. We fell under the scope of that bill, and the frustrating thing about that, at our perspective, was that it was enforcing us to put forward a fining schedule when there was not anything that declared whether we had the ability to fine ourselves in the first place. So we tried to exclude or make sure that if we didn't fine, we would be excluded from the bill. That didn't work, so I said, well, if you're going to force us to comply with that, give us the power as well with it. And that's actually how the legislation changed, so it allowed and made it much more clear if you're providing those, you also have that authority. So that's where that one's part of.
And that's just been in the last few years.
Yeah, that was last year, I think.
Yeah, prior to that, the committee couldn't find anybody, and if they found somebody in violation, if they didn't do anything, all you could do is the committee was take them to court and get a judgment, and then that didn't necessarily fix it. So we've come a long ways. At least there's some mechanism in place now to get some things done.
It was House Bill 24-1267 that gave us the teeth in the covenant enforcement.
And we're working on that. We're really trying to refine that. The committee's trying to refine that, get this due process down so that, everybody, so it's done right and done as it should be. And so I think we've made some good headway. And I think the committee does a good job of doing what they're doing right now with the enforcement, with the people, the staff that they have, trying to address all the violations is monumental. It's monumental. The covenants, in my opinion, they were designed to sell lots. People will buy a lot if they think that it's covenant protected, but there was never really much to it.
Unless there are other comments, I was just going to propose kind of to a point of a work session and discussing maybe more in detail. Number 14 out of 14 is covenant enforcement in our strategic plan as far as priorities. And it's one that's not as well defined as far as the expectation. At the time we had that conversation, it was very much recognizing we have them, we struggle to enforce them. Whether we do, whether we don't, we want to be consistent and ideally show that if we're responsible for something, we're going to follow through with it. Once it, whether it's the 90% tracks or anything to that, maybe we don't touch those portions of it. But it may be something we could explore deeper and help create a mechanism that at least the board agrees to as far as how they want to interact with the COA and what that looks like.
Yeah.
So that might be a good next step.
Yeah, that'd be the next step. The other thing I just wanted to mention was that it is also laid out as to what the committee can adopt reasonable rules and regulations, but that's only for the conduct of their proceedings. They can't add anything to this. They can't make it more stringent. They can.
Problem is it's vague.
Yeah, they can make it less stringent, but they can't make it more stringent.
I know we're going through a process because there have been resolutions approved by the Committee of Architecture, usually to provide more consistent interpretation of something that might be vague.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, they only have their bylaws as far as dictating otherwise, their own conduct and what is expected of them, not the rules and regs that you're referring to. So they have met with that.
Thank you.
All right, next is somebody's going to talk about the aquatic center. That's me. Okay.
Do you need help?
Yeah, you want to give each of the board members that. And I've got a few of these for other parties.
Just have to share.
Yeah, probably.
Just discussion. Possibilities.
Carol, have one of these?
Sure, I got one.
Thank you. What am I doing with this?
Just-
You gonna hold it up?
We're
with the hand
gonna,
up?
we're gonna, can we put some pins in the wall? Sure. Facilities allow us to do this?
I think it will, as long as you don't throw a hammer through
President Vickers,
Yeah.
do you want that to be seen on the camera?
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to go this way,
Okay.
right?
You get the same thing?
Right there?
You've got one
right?
page and I got
Yeah.
one.
It's like right by the TV to the left. Right there, and that's right, right there. Yep. Right
On the wall.
Yeah.
Let's see, Dana.
You could just stay there. Yeah, that's perfect.
Underneath the Dan.
No, that's where he's gotta be?
Yeah.
Not there?
It's gonna be Dana. So,
Okay. All right. Well, here's the, this is, and I want you all to know, this is just, concept. Okay, what I think can be done with the district. We've kind of been stalled for a long time on an aquatic center. We're looking at a $9 million aquatic center right now. So this building is designed at 85 feet by 140. It's got the same size pool in it as the aquatic center, 42 by 84. 6 lanes and a handicap ramp. This is proposed on a metal building, and I have spent the last 3 weeks, you'll see there's a price sheet there, spent the last 3 weeks talking to subcontractors, talking to electricians. I actually got a quote from a pool company for a pool. There's lots of, these are just things you can do with a metal building front. The rest of it would be metal sides. Rand, I think I gave you some slides. Can you put those up? And I think I've gotten pretty close with the estimates. Like I said, it's a concept. There's probably some fudge factor in there. I know I just remembered that I did not put anything in there for IT. But I doubt that it's gonna be $1 million.
no, look at the IT guys.
President Vickers, you'll just have to let me know when you want me to
Go ahead
flip
and
between,
start putting the pictures up.
all on the same
No,
pic.
just one at a
Yeah,
time.
this is one of them.
Okay, go, that's the proposed pool. So this is the proposed, and Carol, correct me if I'm wrong. I've been wrong before. We're looking at this portion over for the aquatic center at this point.
Yeah, the 6 lanes.
Right, the 6 lanes. Okay. I'm just gonna draw a line through here and say everything on this side.
That is
Okay. So that's what we've got in this building, is a pool.
And the locker rooms and.
Then you've got locker rooms, you've got showers, 2 showers in each. There's a boys and girls. There's 2 offices. You can put in a merchandise room. Bleachers. This is bleachers on this one side. This doesn't have to be all bleachers. It could be partial bleachers or a room. We purposely have kept this at 11,900 square feet because in an A classification, you don't have to sprinkle it as long as it's under 12,000 square feet and there's no food. So the idea was not to have food. You could have a pop machine in there. But if you'll look at the price sheet or the estimate sheet, it has everything from the building package, and these are not guesses. This is actual, I got a price on a building package. I got a price on the framing. Everything in here is a verified price, except for HVAC. And that price I was given as a best guess. And that could go up. It even includes a 15% contingency, and it also includes the $450,000 that we've already spent on the design for the aquatic center that we've got on the drawing board. It comes to $4,500,230. And if you see at the bottom, it's that if we're working with 9 million, that leaves approximately 4,500,000 that we could do something else. And I thought, if we're going to put this on, and again, this is just my ideas, the concept. You're going to put this on a 10-acre plot or bigger. We could have an outdoor concession with outdoor seating. That helps with costs because it's now a separate metal structure, possibly with some garage doors in it, so that if you put a baseball field there or a soccer field there, or you try to build this as some kind of recreation center, you will have concessions. This would also grant us, would give us money to do, possibly fix the other pool and other items that other projects that we have. I said this would provide for an indoor pool that the citizens voted for and provide monies for other projects. I believe this is a viable alternative to the other proposed aquatic center, using tax revenues appropriate for the project while providing a facility that we can be proud of. Well, I'm sorry, Christian.
Do you still need me to be banned?
Huh?
Do you still need me to be
You don't have to be banned. I think people get the idea. So, thank you, Brian.
Well,
So it's just an avenue that I think is worth looking at. I think we can build a pool, an indoor pool, year-round, to provide for our citizenry, and do it for less money, and use the excess money for other items. What do you need?
yeah, I didn't get it. Do you have more of those?
Yeah.
President Vickers?
Yes.
I'm putting the pictures up for you as well, if these
Okay,
were
and
your
these were actual buildings I pulled off the internet that you can see. You can do nice fronts with them. The ones that Vanna was holding up, you can do nice fronts with those. So you can design that front just about any way that you'd like. So I just think that we can do some things, and I think we can probably do this at a faster pace. From my experience. So just so that you know, I have experience. I've been building since 1995. A commercial contractor, residential contractor. I've put up metal buildings. It's not anything that's new to me. So there you have it. It's just a concept. It's an idea. Think about it, and maybe we can come up with a good plan. Any
Thank you.
questions?
No, I appreciate the work you put into this,
Yeah.
very much so.
And this would just be the first step to possible future amenities to the recreational area that we're going to try to develop in the future.
Right, yeah,
So this is just the first step, and then we can expand from there, where we can use that saved money to even help do that as well.
I only had a real quick question, thinking about the aquatic center has been talked about as a multi-phase project with the leisure pool. Were you thinking that second part either not to happen, still happen with the building, causing that sprinkler system, or a separate building?
Yeah, I didn't, quite honestly, I'm not sure that the leisure pool and the river is a viable a viable way to go. Because we're looking at it also cost to run this thing as it goes. The original center, I think, is $400,000 a year to operation
About
cost.
that, yeah, I think. Is that what it was?
Million, but with 600,000 offsetting revenue. So 40%
Yeah.
loss, 400,000 about.
So, I think this would be less expensive to operate, especially since you don't have a food there at this time. But like I said, you could put up a concession, a nice concession. At the legislative barbecue, I was looking around, they have that tent set up, and they also, their kitchen is a metal building that's set aside from it, that they do all their preparation and stuff in, and then bring it into the tent. So I just think it's a possibility to go that way and get more bang for our buck. That $4.5 million, we're close to having raised that with the Tabor timeout. I know we're a little over $3 million that we've raised with the Tabor timeout.
The Tabor timeout, double check. I think it's 3.8.
3.8, okay.
Maybe a little bit more.
So we're close.
Yeah. I'll have to double check that because I think it's
Yeah.
6.1 minus the 1.2. Let me
Yeah.
follow that number up.
And I believe when I mentioned earlier, possibly, I found out that you can extend Tabor to indefinite. You don't have to have a timeout if the public votes to do such, and using those Tabor funds to continually help offset the cost of the pool that we have, that they voted for.
Mhm.
So, and I think that's something that's viable to do in the future as well, because it'll help out a lot. And they want the pool, this is how we can help fund it as well. Keep it sustained.
Yeah, and you'll see that the pool cost, the new pool cost was $600,000, and that was with a few options. And that would be a gunite pool with tile. I think the top area around the top of the pool, all the way around is tile. So that's what I got. The building package comes complete.
Good job.
Thanks. As it is, those are actual costs. I missed the building insulation by $5,000. I just got an update just now. It's actually $45,000.
I think I might look at Carol just to make sure I remember correctly. The current pool is about, with the reduction, the colors you saw that were taken out, a little over 12,000 square foot. So I don't know if the design, as far as the square footage, whether it's this or that, and reduction to below that 12,000 number, I think is pretty similar as far as that. It might just be the orientation of what specifically goes into it. Can we get your word that everybody who gave you these quotes are willing to put their bids in for that?
Well, off of this, they are.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
These are professionals, plumbers and electricians that look at it and realize that, they know what it takes to wire something like that to a certain degree. But, I mean, okay, if I'm $1 million off, we're at $5.5 million.
Sure, I'm not speaking to that. I'm saying nobody, I think, is opposed to the idea of the overall project meeting the goal and costing less.
Yeah.
Nobody's opposed to that. I think the general thought will be, if we don't see these in the bid, whether it's this design or something else goes out, those other costs might still be reflected. But I definitely appreciate the work.
But I know the building cost wouldn't change, and I know the pool cost wouldn't change unless you change it. I really don't think that most of those would change at all. There may be a few things in there that I've missed, small items. They're close. IT I missed.
That's fair.
Sorry, guys. It's the 2 offices. Any questions on any of this? I mean, and I would like to thank Mr. Wyrick at Advanced Design. He did these for me, and I think he did a great job with what he had to work with. There we go.
Good job.
I think, as far as whether it's this or just the next steps to kind of give an idea of the aquatic center will be, once site selection is complete, after the soil analysis produces, here's the 2 sites, and if the board identifies one site as preferable, it would normally be to finish out the design either with the architect currently in place to be able to finish that out, or we may have to review what that would look like, because their 450 or so thousand has been to produce what software. I don't know what the cost essentially would be to just adjust if there is a desire to change some of that.
It's in here. It's absorbed in this cost.
Additional to make plans for it, to actually, because as you said, this is a concept.
Right.
This is not what goes out to the bid
Right,
for the
right,
construction.
right.
So
No,
this-
there's $200,000 in plans
Yeah.
and engineering in there.
Whether we use this, whether it was the other, finishing off the other one, ultimately, they will have to finalize architectural designs that can then go out to bid. That's where the additional, I think we talked about before, the 750,000 figure comes from, is to finalize designs. One of the things that's outstanding about what even the previous one was, the final site will have the additional site work to figure out what that looks like for the final project.
Well, I mean, I made the presentation for the board to consider. I mean, if they don't want to move ahead with the other design and go a different direction, they can do that.
That's what I'm suggesting, is
Okay.
that if
Yeah.
we're at the point that the board selects a
Right.
site, that site then needs a plan that says this is what we're moving forward with.
Mhm.
The board will have to instruct what is the plan that they would like to see finalized. There's one in existence that's almost complete. There's this one, which I don't know if there's costs associated with tailoring towards it. Or if it's just a hybrid, let's say, where it's reducing the square footage to that ideal location. So there'll be site selection and then board input to finalize what will the design that the architect does.
Right. And this size, this square footage was specifically chosen to keep from having to be sprinkled. Brianne, can you pull up that website for Petco, please?
Bill, would you be comfortable with supplying a list of
Sure.
vendors or contractors?
I don't want to get into a position where
This is
there's
their
any
bid.
kind of issue for them, because they should be
Right.
able to bid on finished plans without,
Right. It'd just be good to have that information
Sure, I can-
down the road,
I
when
can-
we do get to the point where
Yeah.
we have plans and we say, okay, here it is.
well, we've probably worked with most of these as a district.
Yeah, good.
Do you remember the address, President Vickers?
It's William White Boulevard.
That's right, okay.
I'll show you this building from Petco, give you some facts on it. She'll get it pulled up.
Out in industrial park?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you get to where you can scroll through those pictures? So this is a building that Petco built out at the industrial park. It's just a shell. It's 74,000 square feet. It doesn't have a floor in it. And they purchased the building for $368,000. Petco bought the building, I think, for $368,000 and hired a contractor to erect it. They're sitting right now at $3 million. But that's 74,000 square feet. That's 5 times bigger than what we're talking about.
What did they purchase the building, or they built the
Yeah, they
purchased
purchased
land and then built the
the
building?
building at the building package was 368.
Don't quote me, but I think the land was given to Petco for development purposes.
So where's the $3 million figure come from?
That's where, as it stands now, with the building package and the cost to erect it is $3 million. Also, there was substantial costs incurred in excavation, because instead of excavating, because the soil is so expansive, there's a lot of bentonite out there. So instead of excavating and backfilling with structural fill, the architect decided to, or the engineer decided to dig it out, mix it with water. It was like the consistent of a thick milkshake, and then they pumped it back in and let it dry. He said that it was very expensive to do that, so that's part of that $3 million. With a building the size that we're looking at, our costs wouldn't be like that. So anyway, it's it's an attractive building. I'm just trying to give you an idea of what you can achieve with those types of structures. And the structure that I chose, the 85, there's myriads of manufacturers, and you can just put whatever you want in them, and they'll design them and send them to you.
Can you run that square footage? Like the
74,000.
And 3 million?
It's like $3,050,000.
I was just gonna throw out that I think our shell, if we're just talking about the shell of the building, which I believe includes the foundation work, does, and the aquatic center is 1.1. But I think you said a fifth about that, so maybe a sixth.
The fifth, 5 times 12 is 60.
Yeah, I don't wanna, the overall project cost is not just the shell, obviously, for the aquatic center at the 8.9
Oh, right,
million for it,
right.
yeah. So it's about 1.1 for reference. But those are just estimates to your point.
So I think I've got it at 802,000. The first part of that is where's it? So the building package clear down to number 8 is 802,000. No, that's not right.
If not,
Let's see.
6 or 7?
1.5.
Building package, labor, excavation. Take the excavation and backfill off of that. Just the building package is what I was getting at, the building package and the, no, never mind. Scratch what I was thinking. 802 sticks in my mind or something. I've added these numbers up so many times.
So, yeah, thank you for your work, Bill.
Thank you.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Saving money. Want to ask for questions or?
Any questions? Anybody have anything to say?
I do got one question to ask about the pool. Are there any headway on the soil samples? Where are we at on that?
Since Friday, no, there's not been any, since we gave that update.
What do we think the soil samples are going to cost? Or do we know that?
Find that number.
I have no
don't know.
idea. Right now, project management is reviewing that.
Follow up on that. And I think the last, just for everybody's awareness, that maybe didn't hear for Friday's work session, the conversation was generally that they just got back to us this past week about being able to conduct those, and we're trying to get a timetable of what it'll take for it.
So then the next step for them, is that to put it out to bid? For
No, we
some-
went with the designer as they had done the previous geotechnical work. Is that right, geotechnical? And so they're going to be able to do the same soil analysis that they did for the Spalding site and the other locations. So we won't have to go back out for us to bid or quotes or anything like that. They'll follow through with that, and then we'll get the reports and then provide it. Hopefully that'll narrow down, if there's a distinct enough, hopefully that itself can narrow down exactly which site the board would like to go with. And we'll try to get the timetable and the cost.
This is something I thought about a while ago and just came back up in conversation I had earlier today. Is, have we ever considered hiring an architect in-house? Since we have projects coming up seemingly a lot.
I think we have talked about in the past, I think 2021 is the last time I had a conversation about that as the Public Works Director. While it looks like we have a lot right now, there aren't often that many that would have within a 20-year, 10-year span.
Right.
And architects can cost anywhere between in-house 115 to I think 135,000 per year for their salaries, depending on the level, and there
Sure.
may be some plus or minus that. So having that for that amount of time where they may only do 4 projects in 20 years that we would normally, like we're not in theory going out for another admin building, another aquatic center. I think we're seeing a lot of large scale projects right now because we now have the funding to do it, but that won't probably be the future.
Okay. I'm just wondering, because what did we spend on the, well, since we're on the aquatic center, use that. What did we spend to design the aquatic center?
The budget, I believe, is 750,000 total, and we spent
No,
440.
740, and we spent 441.
740,000 for total budget for it, and we've spent
441.
441.
So we could have paid an architect for 3 years.
For what we have had now, yes. Assuming that you do a project and you do it the first time and then you complete it and then you don't need to do that project and you don't have a series of projects that you would have to do. That would be like that architect being on staff for an aquatic center, probably not administration buildings. They probably would not be specialized to do things like wastewater plant expansions or some of the specialized projects there. You may not see them do that same type of work for 10 to 20 years. So you'd have them on staff.
So that architect can't do an aquatic center, a fire remodel, an admin building?
I don't know the specializations of architects where they go that.
I don't know either.
I don't, to be honest with you. I would assume that they have firms have staffs that probably specialize in different types of projects.
Okay.
So having, just like a general counsel, having one specialized person might not be as beneficial.
Yeah, the idea I was toying with was hire somebody, overpay them, tell them up front, we need you for 2 years. Don't know if we're going to need you after that. That's why we're purposely overpaying you. To get these projects done in-house, if we're spending $450,000 on one, whatever we spent on the fire station for, what are we in on the fire station 1 remodel?
142 in it, or a
there's-
little over 200, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so 600,000, and then what are we in on the admin building?
I don't know if we've spent we haven't spent anything on this one. I can't recall if we spent, how much we spent on previous versions
Okay.
where we were talking about it.
So there's 600,000 already spent. I don't know, just an idea.
We have an RFP in partnership with an architect to do all of your projects.
The idea of having,
Contract with
I'm
somebody.
sorry. No, I apologize. The idea of having an architect on standby essentially for 5 years where those projects happen, that's something we haven't talked about before. It was a true full-time employee, and thinking about that we had analyzed before, and it didn't seem worth it. But as far as conversation of what that would look like, where it's almost like a grant writer, knowing that they're on call or on the expectation of having them.
Like a 1099, not even W-2, just 1099.
If an architect would be willing to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Depends on how much you pay them.
Yeah.
And that,
I mean, in our case, overpay them
And then.
still save
still saving.
a lot of
I
money.
wouldn't want to offer this, but we haven't always had a good track record of seeing those projects come to fruition. I think it would be, one concern that could come up is having them on that payroll, 1099 or not, and then not have a project that even materialize for them to do. That could be a challenge.
I think the biggest stall to date,
It seems like we're already
It's
at
been
that
the
point
cost.
already with 600,000 plus spent. I mean,
But now you have a full-time employee, well, maybe not full-time employee.
If you did the 1099,
Yeah,
it wouldn't.
installs and costs, you're right.
If you did the 1099, you wouldn't, I don't know that you'd have to even necessarily commit to them, to have them,
and I'm
you know,
sure we could
promise
put
them anything
things are
necessarily.
contingent of their work ethic and or, you know, if you don't meet the certain criteria within a certain amount of time, obviously, you know, you're not gonna get paid for that work that you didn't do. If it's a 1099 or contract within that situation.
Yeah.
Multiple ways
Because
to
to
go
do the
about it.
construction plans for the fire station, whether we do, for the fire station, for Fire Station 1, we're estimating that at, I'm just trying to remove this 10%, hey, we're gonna spend $250,000 on the project because we think it's $2.5 million. Well, let's just hire a guy at $250,000 and have him do 6 projects in a year.
Yeah. I think it's worth a conversation. Probably should schedule that to discuss for it. I think the
No, right,
concern is
that's-
that in
right,
most
right.
cases.
I got you, but-
The work that would come with doing that, if we're looking at specific projects, specific scopes, specific timelines, and they're moving through a process, I don't think we would have those types of inflate costs and would see those projects taking 10 years essentially to do, or multiple years. Fire Station 1's remodel took as long as it did because they didn't have the funding at the beginning and just the timing, not the cost towards it. So when we have more predictability, of when projects can take place, like when we do the master planning and we have the capital project outlay for multiple years, for decades, that would make sense for then we could identify when it looks like we'll have high levels of projects, and then something like that 1099, if possible, feasible, might make sense.
I think we need to try to do some things different, than we have. Just for instance, this building. I think we, as a district, need to be able to come up with the concept plan. We can. We have employees. We have people that have ideas. We ought to be able to come up with stuff like that. A basic idea of what we want.
Sure.
And then you give it to an architect. Then you take this to bid. This is what we want. This is what we have in mind. We want you to design to that.
I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility for it. I think sometimes where we run into challenges, for instance, the Fire Station 1, that cost for that thing was only $5,000. That's the cost that we would be saving if the district did that and said, yes, this is what we would like. I don't think that's the $200,000 plus that we're saving when we do stuff like that. Where we have often run into issues, I'm not just specifically talking about here and now, is that we go through multiple iterations of even getting a project off the ground because there are so many people who identify that they have different visions and different ideas for it. And that's usually what, if it's not budget, what ends up sending us back. The administration building was a project that was provided to the board, kind of to your exact point, President Vickers. There was an idea and a concept that was, I think, originally discussed with the board, given to staff. Staff had direction from the board, and in some cases, I won't speak to whether they went beyond that or changed or deviated from it, but then a new board came and had a different vision that then competed with what staff had then produced for it, and then it stopped and stalled, and they stopped moving forward with it.
Yeah.
That's sometimes what ends up being why projects take as long as they do if it's not a funding issue.
Absolutely. That's why we need to streamline our processes to the point where you can get something done
quicker
in the course of 4 years.
Yeah.
If you want
2
something
years.
done, you got to quit changing
2
board
years.
members.
I can't control that. That is the idea.
But we do need to speed things up. I mean, when we're in design. How long have they been designing that aquatic center?
Well, that one's more of a, as they collected funding from Tabor, they got enough to afford the design, so they started that process then. I don't know if they should have waited or not. There's a conversation to play out there. But they had enough to be able to fund the design, but they didn't have enough to fund construction. So the idea of getting the design done, being able to finalize it, and then when the funding was available, send it out for IFB, be able to complete it. That was always, I think, part of the plan. But then you do have multiple iterations of boards identifying whether we have funding, whether we're going to try new ways to get funding. Now that we do, are there different ideas for design?
I think the universal thought here, especially with this board, is that we need to figure out a way to do things cheaper than what we've been doing. And as long as you guys everyone's open to that and moving forward with that, I think we won't have all of these stalls and discussions and questioning the cost of something if we don't seem it as unreasonable. And it's just as hard for us as it is for you guys. I know it's got to be super difficult for all of you, all the work that's put involved and the timing, just to have things be questioned and stalled, but we need to find a way. And we want to work with you on that too. We just, I think this was a great opening for something like that, and the conversation about an architect and how much we're spending on designs in previous projects that just seemed outrageous. Is that necessary? And can we have an architect or someone on call or whatever plan we put in place who can design or draw up these plans, and then, just as Bill did in 3 weeks, get those cost estimates and move forward. I would love to see that happen, and I think the community, the taxpayers, would love to see that happen.
And you got a lot of experience. I mean, I am more than happy to put in as much time as I can to brainstorm, help bring things to fruition. I mean, you might all of the board has talents. I think we need to utilize that more. Use that talent.
On Vice President, actually, to your point, I don't think, again, there's anybody we have multiple people, Carol, Frank.
I'm not pointing.
No, I know. but who also live in the district and are also taxpayers who probably want to see the best use of their tax dollars. I don't think there's anybody even living in or outside the district who's not on board with that. So I think we're all on the same line.
I think we've just been stuck down that path is all we're saying. This is the process we've built for many years, and we have people questioning it, and we just like to talk about how that can change for the better.
On the two elements of talking about process and making things efficient, having conversations, and then the idea of why projects have stalled, there's a discrete or distinct element of the project stalling have not had to do with really any one person, one element towards it. Most of it's funding, sometimes it's changing minds. That's one aspect of it. The processes, the only thing I ask for is that we understand them as we're trying to change them. For instance, as we had a conversation about we should go and find an architect or a firm to be able to do this type of work, produce plans, and then send it out for IFB, and that's what we already do, I think is one of those things that we identify as like, okay, let's explore what about that process is specifically, or maybe not specifically, maybe it is a little bit generic, what's causing the frustration that we think. For instance, having an architect that might be a 1099 or on staff, do we do a cost estimate to see are there better ways, or is there even a possibility? Fantastic as far as a conversation to be able to explore that and figure out what that looks like. We don't want, I think, board members identifying, we see a problem, staff saying, we see a problem, or we don't see a problem, either or, having conversations about it and not even coming to the same page of like what we're all seeing. I think that's been one of the challenges we've been having.
I agree. And this is kind of why it's hard, as I said, we're battling. And it's not fun for any of us. And
you're not having fun?
I won't do this again.
You heard it here first.
I've been saying that. I think I've been saying that since day one. But to your point about going out to bid, I mean, we obviously we don't see that every single time. We have the engineer getting the soil samples for these two lots, going through the designer rather than just putting out a quote. It probably could have been done by now. Somebody locally just get it done, and now we're delayed because we're utilizing the designer.
Yeah, I don't know if we've been funneled into these processes over years of, just doing it, constrained by state law, I don't know, but I just think that we need to really put an effort into trying to get out of that box. Like a simple building like this, there's plenty of small contractors out there that would bid on this. This guy I'm sure would like to bid on it. And it doesn't take a firm. It doesn't take a huge firm to do this. That's where I see us trying to get to a point where we open it up to where you get smaller people bidding on these things, that they can actually do it too.
Yeah.
But we've been trained, I think, and it's just habit, or we just are funneled that way. But you have in the I think it's in the vision that says we don't do things because that's the way it's always been done. So let's look at some.
And we're not bad mouthing.
No.
We know your heart's in the right place. We understand that. We're just trying to figure out that middle ground of what can we be doing better.
We get stuck. Even the founding fathers recognized that people are less willing to change. In the Declaration, it says you'll endure many hardships rather than change it, because that's the way people are. So we're just looking for a better way. I mean, if we can do this, if it's really feasible to do it, $4.5–5 million, wouldn't that be just something to entertain?
For sure.
Two things. So on to narrow it down to a specific example on the soil samples, why can't we just immediately put it IFB invitation for bid, get 3 bids, select the lowest guy and go? Why don't we? Why
I don't know if there's any reason we couldn't. I thought at the time, and I'll double check to see if there's any additional thoughts to it, but knowing that the design firm had contracted for the initial geotechnical reports, that they had a firm or they had people that they would normally do it for, or have it do it, have them do it for them. And we just kept that, to your point, a consistent practice of expecting that. I don't think it was necessarily as specific, we can't do this way. It was that we already know we're on a timetable that is going to be probably multiple years before we see finalization of the construction of the aquatic center. I know that there are conversations for,
Multiple years, or you get a year and a half?
yeah, two. I'm going with, we're probably not gonna construct it next year because we haven't had 6A solidified unless the board is looking at something different. Because I don't think we want to start construction of an aquatic center while we have a almost $3 million deficit over our head. That's what I was expecting and understanding as far as our strategic plan.
Well, it depends on how much the aquatic center costs, right?
Regardless of how much it costs, that's
If
an
you-
operational expense.
If you free up, yeah, but you're looking at 9, if you free up 3.
But that's not recurring revenue. That still comes with a $3 million a year deficit with the fire sales tax not being complete.
So then you're saying you're not gonna pass this until that, if and when, is that what you're saying? That you're not gonna build an aquatic center if the fire sales tax doesn't get approved?
Oh, God, I hope so, because that is what the strategic
That's what
plan that
the-
the board approved identified.
That's honestly what's fiscally irresponsible, which is why I'm so hard on the fire department. Sorry, Brian. I don't know if he's still in here.
Yeah, he might have left.
Just because of where we're at. I mean, we're in the spot now that we have to wait and see.
Because we would be taking if 6A does not pass, we'd be taking a $3 million deficit hit plus a $400,000 a year hit from operating aquatic center.
I mean, back to the soil thing, I just don't understand. I
To your-
mean,
yeah, to your point.
I mean, we don't know what the soil is gonna cost from this, this guy's, his favorite vendor or whatever. To me, I just don't understand why you don't just do an IFB for the soil sample. That way you can just get it done and get it for a lower bid and it's competitive.
Yeah,
And
I hope I answered it when I said that the previous way that had been done, utilizing that design, utilized somebody who did the geotechnical report for it,
So then
following
what-
through that
so- okay,
process for it.
so then what would be
with
the
an already
process?
budgeted process for seeing that cost associated with the design total.
So then what would be the process to change that?
I think we could just go out for the quotes.
Yeah, because it's not that expensive. It's not going to reach 30 grand, right?
No, I actually don't know if the
No.
total work for it would, but.
What I'm saying is, instead of doing what you guys did, how do we change that process so that instead of doing that, you would just go to IFB?
If the board would like to give us that direction and make it an item for action, we'd probably take that direction, but I don't know why we would if it doesn't have a higher cost and the timeline is not of significance. Because we're not building the aquatic center unless the board decides differently before 6A is something that's solidified.
Because it might be cheaper to get
We don't know if it'll be cheaper.
one guy versus possibly 3 bids?
We can go out for
Well,
it.
I mean, we don't know. It's 1
Yeah.
versus 3, but you're increasing your odds. I mean, maybe that guy knows he's got the monopoly on it.
I wasn't aware that we were holding up the aquatic center for the 6A vote.
We have been talking about it for 2 years.
Holding it up? No, we were talking about the concern of 6A. I had not heard that we were holding up the aquatic center because of it.
All right.
What was our cost of our previous pool? How much did that cost on an average to run it yearly? I remember there was something given to us, but I can't remember what the.
Loss of $80,000 a year?
80,000?
Close to that, yes.
Okay,
And I
close
don't
to
know how much
80,000?
it cost to build. It was
80.
quite
Right, no,
a bit.
I got you, I
Loss.
understand
Net
that.
loss,
I'm just saying, right.
80.
80, yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds right.
I don't recall the 6A being the key factor. Maybe it was said and I just didn't align the things properly. So I kind of on Bill's side, I didn't realize that was a factor coming into this as far as 6A goes. If it was said, I apologize for mishearing. But I was under the impression that we could get started on the pool pretty quickly.
I'm going to.
Once everything got through.
Yeah, so
I need help.
I'll back you up on that. So we all want the pool. We understand that. We understand the community wants the pool, at least the majority of the community. We've heard from some that don't. So the problem is, if we move forward with the pool and 6A is not permanent or even extended, then we face dire situations where what would you say, about $2 million?
For
Well, if you take out capital expenditures,
just the personnel
Yeah.
personnel and operating, it's almost $3 million for the fire sales tax fund portion of it.
So that would
okay,
all
so that's
go
even
to
worse than I
general
thought.
fund.
So, yeah, so
Half a
$3 million
million.
would hit the general fund. So then if you maintain the fire department as it is, you are shutting down other departments in the district, you are scaling back as much as you can, which is another reason why
Right.
I don't want to get involved with a union contract, because there's this massive, massive unknown.
Oh, yeah.
So, so when we were all talking about that during the strategic plan process, that's why the aquatic center is listed lower than most things, because we needed to figure out whether 6A was going to be permanent or not. Again, correcting issues of the past, should have been put out temporarily as a tax? No, probably not, absolutely not, I would say. But it was, and now we have to, now we're stuck with it, and now we gotta solve that problem.
And I appreciate that, because what I would probably add is that the previous board is what identified and designed when it came to strategic plan. That was during the work session on Friday, what I covered as far as the prioritization, identifying the aquatic center was as low as it was specifically because of those fiscal responsibilities. So no worries that I recognize this conversation. I appreciate it, but yeah, and as far as, we just want to take a look at quotes and seeing if we have that time, and if we don't think that there's any reason we shouldn't, then we could probably at least put out quotes and see what we can get for it and see if it's less than what we would expect.
Does it cost us anything?
To put out quotes now, or to get quotes now.
How long
Do we just do it as a test?
Sure, I think so.
And how long will those soil samples be good for? Is there any deadline to indefinite? Okay, I just
No
want to make sure
time.
there's some sort of.
Unless there's an earthquake.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure.
So going back to this board currently, I mean, you gotta look at that, that's our prime, one of the biggest jobs we have to do, right, is figure out what's going on with 6A, hopefully pass it, so it's permanent, and then we can move forward. And then, even restructure the funding mechanism. Do we have to have so much from general fund and so much from the 1% sales tax to go all towards the fire department? As we have it currently, with all the capital expenditures that we've been experiencing with the fire department for their growth? Or can we scale back the general fund expense and put that money towards Parks and Rec, which then pays for the operational costs for that pool, plus additional monies for additional parks, for the master plan of Parks and Rec, and facilitate all of that? I mean, it's just a massive monkey on our back that we need to resolve. That and our, have enough water for full build out. I'd say those are.
I'm completely understanding where you're coming from. I just missed that correlation, I guess.
Yeah,
No, I hear you on that. Now, best case scenario, let's say Tabor gets extended, and we get the Tabor extended for those reasons to help offset the cost of the pool. Could we do figures on that to see where that would help us out? I'm sure it would. But.
Yeah, I think the rough numbers is it matched almost what we were missing in revenue. The only thing that might come up in question is timing. For instance, if we do 6A on the ballot, general election November 2026, which is the initial plan. I know we had a conversation about maybe discussing different ideas of when we did it, but ideally, we would not want to put multiple things on a ballot at the same time, because it lowers the chance oftentimes for it to succeed on its first go. So, for instance, I'm not proposing this is the way to go, but it could be a concept of, if we went with 2026 general election for 6A, it could be the following year, either in special election or general, if both are appropriate, to do Tabor as we're doing, to the point I think we discussed, like you'll see progress on the aquatic center then, because we have that solidified.
Well, we should have a conversation about that, the timing of the election. I personally don't think you're gonna, in my opinion, the way it has gone.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough.
I don't know.
For both, or Tabor, or 6A?
No, actually, I think once you tell the community that you do away with the fire sales tax and you lose the fire department, they're gonna pass it.
That's why I thought we should put it on this year.
I know, we shouldn't be talking about this, probably.
Oh, sorry.
Probably. I was gonna say that.
So but let's put it on the agenda because we need to discuss it.
Okay.
We need to,
What?
but back to the aquatic center though, if the funding is not gonna be available to build any aquatic center until we determine this, we shouldn't continue paying to have that design completed. I don't think.
How did you say that?
400,000, another 300,000?
So that, whether we pay for that now or in a year and a half, 2 years, like that will still create a shelf-ready design project ready to go out for IFB. I think the important part is coming to fruition on the completion of that design, so it's ready once it is.
That design's gonna be too expensive for this board, for this district to build.
Assuming 6A doesn't, or you talk about the.
At
the specific
any
one.
cost.
Yeah, I should still try to find a cheaper route.
Yeah, I'm not,
I think
Is what
we
he's
should
saying.
try to find a cheaper route, not
sorry, I apologize. I thought I heard it stop all design process.
stop the
So we don't have to do
$750,000 design process
Gotcha.
and design a cheaper
So
alternative.
I think rough, what we would have to talk about is if we have a difference of what we want that final design to look like, do we continue engaging with the architect that's already on and
No.
agreed or not, or do we start over?
That's the whole point, to get away from those design firms, because you're gonna be back in the same boat. I think you wanna come up with a concept that the Carol and the Recreation Department on a cheaper plan, come up with that concept and then put that out to bid the general architect.
Bill, I have one question. In your numbers, did you include like,
Yeah, there's lighting fixture, there's a
no,
30,
dehumidification systems?
that's in the HVAC.
They're not the same? Not for a full structure?
Well, the
And
cost
then
is
there
in
was-
there, I don't know how they'll break it down, but.
So
Because
if,
there's vapor,
yeah,
barrier.
before you go,
Sorry.
if it's okay with you, I was gonna run this and compare it to what see if there's anything missing from the cost estimate that
That's fine.
Asenza had, and then identify it with you, because, again, everybody wants a cheap, hopefully
Yeah,
cheaper,
the
more
H-
cost-effective solution when it comes to the aquatic center.
The HVAC could go up, I fully recognize that, but it's at 225,000 right now.
The difference right now in just base, I think, is about $2 million, because the overall project is not 8.9. That includes general profit and overhead, design and estimate contingencies, and allowance for escalation and cost, which in total make up about 2.1 million. So I don't know how much is off compared to, I wanted to take it 1-to-1 and see what's the big
That's
difference.
good. Yep.
Yeah, but you can't compare apples to apples because that is a whole different type of building. So it's not it's not a pre-manufactured.
But that would just be the shell. That wouldn't be the HVAC, that wouldn't be the, everything else that would go into it, no? All those should still have to go into it regardless.
Yeah.
So shell, for instance, is 1.1 million of a different, whether it's a kit or different outer exterior, compared to other things on the list that I assume will be similar, or at least close in comparison and compare what the differences are.
I trust that you do a good analysis on it and show us the figures. I trust you to do that.
Yeah. The only goal there would be identify, is there something missing from this that might change that cost? Because at the end of the day, I understand everybody, again, wants more cost effective. If they're at a 12,000 square foot building that's designed and close to finalized, and this is 11,900 square foot building, if they're pretty close to it and there's small changes that could happen that are more cost effective, I think that would be agreeable with the board, because otherwise, even off this number, the 10% architect cost, that's 450,000 that is otherwise going to have to be spent starting over. In theory, if it is 10% of this figure, when there's only 300,000 left of that contract.
Yeah, I think you can get it designed for less than that. We're gonna have to look at it.
These are rules of thumb, but
Yeah.
fair.
Or the concept that Chris brought up with an architect. If that's a feasible option, and we have some time to take a look at that and really consider it. That could be a big savings.
Was there a second? I thought you had two. You had said-
Oh, I was just kind of curious, and I don't know the answer to this, but maybe Bill, you could help me. Could you potentially approach a general contractor and have them take on some of these costs
Well, you mean?
to
Design?
design and such?
There is design build, which is, I think the general contractor is typically the overarching person who then has a design firm associated with them, and they work together during that process. It's a different model we've done in the past, and there's pros and cons to both, but if that answers your question, I don't know.
Okay.
It's been my experience that when you get a project out to bid and the electrician or the plumber or the HVAC people will recommend different processes themselves once they're looking at it during the bid process. They'll say, hey, this won't work. You need to do this. It kind of self-corrects at that point, but the general contract, so the way it typically, private enterprise, the way it works is you have a plan. You get your plan designed, you put it out to bid, and the general contractors bid on the plan based on the whole package, what you have on the plan, and come up with the price. Typically, if there's something in there that doesn't make sense, that's why they have meetings, questions to talk about changes, design changes during that process.
Okay.
You can arrive at a functioning, because there's a lot of times designs don't work based on the people that are putting the stuff in. I was a machinist for a number of years, and we had that problem with mechanical engineers. They put holes in places you couldn't actually manufacture the hole. So the subject experts can correct any deviation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just on the earlier point, we can go and source 3 quotes or try to find 3 quotes for soil analysis. If Essenza has already started the work, or whoever they've contracted with already started the work, this might just be for intellectual comparison purposes for future notice.
Yeah, that's fine.
If they don't, do we want them to, if they haven't started, do we want them to stop until we've done the 3 quotes and see if the cost comparison is different? This is just general feedback.
Carol, I think there's also $560,000 in contingency in that 4.5 million. So
Say that.
There's 15% contingency, but it's not.
Run that by us one more time, Christian.
So I don't mind giving direction to find 3 quotes for the soil analysis, to actually do the soil analysis. If the designer has already contracted with somebody and they're starting that work, I imagine we don't want them to stop. We want them to finish, especially if they're already incurring costs for it. So in that case, it would mostly be for intellectual purposes. Did that cost comparison come? Would it have been cheaper? Just for our own awareness, less learned. If it is they haven't started, do we want to tell them to stand down until that happens? Because I think originally part of the thought process before realizing that they may have been out of pocket was that just telling them to go start the work was quicker also than going for 3 quotes, then assessing and then giving notice. But obviously that didn't work out that way.
I guess the downside is you fracture the relationship with the designer maybe?
I don't know if this one specifically would, and the only thing I would ask for our team is just to be sure that there's no other reason I'm not thinking of why we wouldn't want the designer to be able to work with the same work contractor, assuming that they would complete the design. Again, soil analysis is part of the soil analysis.
Nothing in the contract.
What's that?
Nothing to breach the contract.
Exactly.
Things like that.
To be able to look at that.
I'd almost say, I mean, personally, I'm fine with going with, unless it's something insane, some insane difference. I'd probably be fine with pulling the trigger on the guy that we've already verbally committed to. But just, as you said, for intellectual purposes, see what the other 3 are, just so that we know as a way forward what we could do differently.
Fair. Okay. Is that comfortable as far as just general?
And what are we talking about? Are we still talking about
soil samples.
Soil samples.
Yeah.
Okay.
So ideally, I think we're all in a position, we do want the aquatic center built as quickly as possible. It sounds like we all understand the hesitancy surrounding 6A. But ideally, and I'm sure Greg would agree, we want to pull the trigger, we want to break ground as soon as we hear that 6A is permanent or those funds are secured, and we move forward. Cool. Thank you.
We'll do that.
That's it.
Thank you.
Now that we're all confused, huh?
Great presentation.
Thanks. Let's see, where am I here?
Committee reports.
Committee reports,
Or closing statements.
or wait a minute, we have public comments. Any
There are no public comments.
public comments? Board member and district manager closing, Christian, you go first. Thank you.
Actually, there's one thing. I did have a conversation with Will Gavigan, the local union president, just talk about the CBA and 6A in the conversation. He reiterated a lot of support for 6A and seeing it being very successful. I think at this time they provided feedback that they're looking to not move forward with the CBA until 6A and prioritize that first. So I think that is something I want to share as essential
Thank you.
positive news. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I really appreciate it. Will.
Yeah, that's massive progress. That's awesome. Thank you.
That takes something off the plate, right?
Absolutely. Thank you.
That's the best way to go.
Okay, anybody else, director's comments?
Just, again, I know this is stressful for everybody. We're trying to do the right thing by the taxpayers and trying to stick to our guns when it comes to that. But, I do recognize the frustrations and the stress that it's causing. So, and for that, I apologize.
Thank you. I agree. I mean, we're just trying to do the best we can for the public. That's always been my goal. Ronnie?
Do you want to go first, or you good?
Let me check mine. Go ahead.
So, you guys got the pat on the back, but I'm going to bring up something that might ruffle some feathers here, but it's just something I observed over the weekend and over this last weekend. I went to the administrative building, and there's electronic locks on the doors. I couldn't get into the building without pushing a button. I never got informed of this situation. I reached out to the other board members. They never got informed of this situation of the admin building being a lockdown. Basically, I was like walking into Fort Knox. Just kind of comical, but I don't understand where we weren't informed of this decision, where the decision came from, what cost did it cost us to have it installed, and just some concerns about decisions being made without consent of the board or input from the board or by the board, or even informing the board of the situation. Because I never heard of any kind of safety issues or concerns brought up by anybody. And so these are the things that I'm a little concerned about who and where the authority came from to do that.
It's okay if I respond?
What's that?
It's okay if I?
Oh,
I can
absolutely,
answer.
yeah.
So I appreciate that feedback, Director Potter. Authority and decision did come from myself. The consistent practice of buildings that we own across the district is to have them essentially controlled and secure access even to the public. We have had safety concerns over the past year where people who were able to access the building before we owned it because we didn't have control of that, whether they were people who just went straight to the bathroom, whether the front desk was not manned at the time as somebody may have used the bathroom at the time. We had people and did not have controlled access to the building. So that is consistent with parks, our fire department, our utilities department. Usually there's somebody who rings the doorbell and says, hey, I would like to come in, and then we can identify them. It's as simple as the buzzer for it. I do apologize. That's on me for not informing the board and letting them know that this decision came from that. And I think the cost of that was about $20,000 as far as the full access security system that's consistent with the other ones we have across the district. I will share that when, in theory, 79 Spalding, once built, is more the public-facing building in the future. That's the one where we'll see more of those public activities. There can be a conversation of streamlining and making it a little bit more accessible and easier to access for the general public without losing those security features. But yeah, I apologize. That's on me for not informing the board better. But that's where that decision and the reasoning for it came from.
Well, I understand concerns of safety. I mean, even you can just walk pretty much into the buildings of the county and such without having to be buzzed in and everything. Again, I didn't hear about any of this concern. You could probably have done it to the outside exits or the ones that are in the back and make that staff-controlled entrance, and because some of the feedback I got was it's not very inviting from the public. It seems like we're trying to keep the public out versus allowing that because it is technically their building and such. I understand safety concerns and issues, when I talked to Carol at the front desk, she said she's really never been in the building by herself, and if she was, she's always locked the doors, so on and so forth. And and she says she's generally not there by herself. It's only a few times that she said where she can remember where she wasn't by herself, or she was by herself, and she locked the door herself. I don't see it. The only thing I see is I don't see what the difference is between somebody coming up there and pushing the button and wanting in. You don't know who they are regardless if they come in or not. And so, to me, accessing, I understand the side doors, but maybe the front door being accessible to the public, that kind of situation. But I just feel like there's some disconnect between informing the board members and us discussing the issue or items that might be concerning. Making decisions without the board's concern is like what happened last week, or the last time we had a board member where somebody make a promise they can't keep, again, beating a dead horse. But I don't know how the person could think that they could make a promise on behalf of the board members. The other thing is also, you know, when you're in meetings with somebody and then you come and say, that you don't believe this should be, we should be partnering with somebody. I get your commitment to doing the right thing, but I think you just take the notes, you bring them back to us and say, here's what we found, here's what they're offering, or here's this, you know, because of the email I got with the YMCA situation, but none of us really knew. I didn't know anything about the YMCA. Maybe we do want to talk to the YMCA, kind of like what we did with the IGA, right? Intergovernmental agency, where you blast it out to the board, say, hey, here's what we got. Do you guys want a meeting with this person? So on and so forth. This is what we found out. So on and so forth for future purposes. Development. We're developing. We're all learning we're all doing a new process here and trying to do right. But I just think sometimes there's decisions that are being made that I think the board should have some input on.
Sure. So I'll speak pretty candidly. I think that there is the expectation that the district manager has been delegated certain operational authority within the district as the chief executive officer. And if I'm not meeting that expectation, I would like to hear more about that. I can share pretty candidly on, I said about the meeting with the YMCA of Pueblo in my email, is I don't believe we were looking for it. Not that I specified we would not be, so I would appreciate that.
Okay.
If the board would feel otherwise, we can have a conversation about that.
And that's
so I don't think
where
I'm giving direction outside
where I
of what the
we discuss with you where your thoughts are, and then we say, hey, well, here's some things we have questions for, or we send you out to ask those questions, or we communicate in a manner that.
Yeah, I don't know if we can control every conversation that the district manager needs to have. I mean, he's actually charged with going out and talking to a lot of the community members, various agencies that could either support or assist Pueblo West in its mission. You know, he absolutely should let us know and let us know what the conversation was and how it went, and then we can provide feedback from there. But I don't know if we should say you need permission first.
No, I'm not saying he needs permission to go talk to people, because he is our source, but when he comes and he does have those conversations, I believe that there should be a process of him getting the information, bringing it back to the board, saying, hey, here's what we talked about. And I get the emails right here, but why do you believe that we shouldn't move forward, or here are the questions we have, or maybe bring that person saying, hey, can we get you set up to meet with the board members, that kind of thing. I'm not saying you shouldn't go out there and talk to anybody, that's not what I'm saying. I get where you're coming from, but I think there should be a little bit more board recognition when it comes to, we did this, here's what came of it, what are your thoughts about it, and then we give them our thoughts about it, kind of thing.
Can I ask a question? Is there anything about my email that didn't do that?
Yeah, that's how I read it.
Well, I don't know what you discussed with them. I mean, you came a little briefings, but I don't know exactly why your conclusion was what it was. Or is.
I'm open to conversation if there was something that between that was missing that you would like to know more about, or if there was something at that. But I just want to make sure I wasn't meeting your expectation.
No, what I'm saying is when you have these conversations, you take notes, and you can even ask the person, do you want to meet with our board members on these aspects, so on and so forth.
I'll give you an example. Director Pasternak asked me a question of were there more details for it, and I provide additional feedback. And to be fair, may not agree with what I think as far as those recommendations. A lot of it just for general awareness, is that previously in discussions with potential partnerships, the thought of being able to exercise control and some of the learned lessons that other communities had when they partner and whether they lose control and have it, that has been conversations for it. So happy to have that conversation and discussion for it. I think that was a good way to be able to say, hey, I would like to know more information.
Right. So, but coming back to duties and expectations of where people are making certain things upon decisions upon the board. Like I said, that was news to me. Are we going to get access cards?
I think it'd be a conversation for it. I don't think we've ever had board members access buildings without usually scheduling a meeting or discussing with somebody that they've intended to meet and obviously coordinating for it. I don't think that's happened before for it, so it could be a conversation for it. I don't think it's intended to exclude board members from having access to the building. That wasn't the intent. The specific parts of where we've had it, if you have a conversation probably with our finance department, which often stays late, they're the ones who had a pretty...
When you look at the dynamics of how we're the elected officials, we should have access to any facility that we need to anytime we want, personally.
So good security, as you probably know from the military, good security and
Yeah, I
access
understand
control
that.
means that you only have access, even at the highest level of authority, to the things you actually need. For instance, I'm not going to have access to the chlorine room by myself, even though I'm the district manager.
So you're saying you're essentially locking the president out of the White House?
I did not say that.
That's kind of what I'm getting.
I'm saying that you will have access as far as what is needed for that to be able to facilitate the duties and responsibilities. I'm not precluding that from being.
But you
board
can
members
tell
have
who
access
accesses
to
the building by their
63
cards.
Spalding.
We have an ability to do that, right? Who
I'm sorry, I
accesses the
didn't
buildings
hear you.
by their cards, their access cards? Who accessed that building at the time?
Sure, I still don't want somebody to run into the chlorine room for it. But as far as the conversation goes, I'm not precluding that the board members have access to 63 Spalding. Did not say that.
Right, but you're saying that we don't need access cards.
I did not say that either.
That's why I asked the question and you didn't say yes.
I
We'll
said it's
get
a
some.
conversation we have. We've never had board members have access cards prior to. And so,
That's not true. I mean.
sorry, during my time, maybe I'm
That's
mistaken
not,
for
yeah,
before.
during your time, but let me break in here. I kind of think that the board should have access cards myself. As being, and it has nothing to do with power or control. It has to do
That's not what I was
with
getting at.
the office that the public has elected us to. Prior 109, always let people in the front door. The side exits had punch key accesses when I was there the first time around, and we got those. So it's not a safety concern for a board member to have access card, is it? Any more so than an employee?
I don't think so, but even when it comes to our employees having access to 63 Spalding, it's specific to the folks who should have access to the building. It's not all employees in the district have access to 63 at all times.
So-
It's not just safety, it's just security and access for a building.
And-
General thoughts.
It's like kicking the commander out of his office without an access card.
So I think I would like to back up to the conversation about the board's role and the district manager's role, because that's probably something that's not super well defined, and I'm getting a sense that there is a disagreement between the guidance I got from our previous board and from what I'm hearing from you now, because they actually updated and changed the job description for the district manager. Previously, it was the chief administrative officer. To your point, they probably only handled things internally to the district. That did evolve into the chief executive officer. They are now more that responsibility, more that agent, more that person who is interacting with the community, the organizations, partners, anything to that effect. And the idea between a board is that they are oftentimes described as the policy deciders, the ones who envision policy and the things that they want the district to look at, whether it's revision, long-term, or specific policies from a personnel, fleet, anything to that nature, and then given goodwill to the execution of that after they've approved it to the chief executive officer.
But we didn't approve the locate of the building or the
That's-
locks. Nobody said anything to us about them.
Again, I apologize, I did not inform you for it, but it is an operational decision for it. And I think that has been an authority I had. If that's not what the board would have liked to see, then we can adjust and discuss that, and I get feedback on it.
Well,
That's what we're doing, kind of.
But it's not cited on the agenda, and we're having a personnel discussion right now.
No, that's an open comment. I'm making my comment.
Sure, but we're venturing into personnel matters.
Okay, then I guess we'll go forward to having this.
but as far as the key card is concerned, that's not a personnel matter.
No, but it's also, as far as if you're giving direction, as far as that, then all I'm looking for probably is, do you want key cards towards it, as far as board members, and we can get those issued.
Would that be a agenda item, or?
I don't think so.
can we
I think just
say-
getting feedback for it.
Okay. I just think it's part of the system. I will say that the county does let anybody walk into the courthouse.
They do. They also have security
During
officers.
their operating.
They have security officers who are there to be able to watch people come in and where they go. Whereas if somebody's not at the front desk, we don't have that same control.
So,
And that's the issue specifically that was brought up by people in that building. Which I apologize if they didn't bring it up to you. That would have been the conversation we had before that decision was made. And again, I apologize I didn't inform the board that that operational change took place.
let me read a comment. Greg sent me an email. He said, "Bill, please apologize to the public for my absence. Also, I'm not satisfied with the level of communication between the employees, the district manager, and the board of directors in regards to enhanced security measures of the Metro District offices. It is procedural change to how we conduct business and interact with the public. Please put this on the next agenda." So maybe we should talk about it, or if it needs to be a personnel matter.
Sure.
Or,
I think it depends on if there's going to be that guidance towards
Yeah.
it. But no, I take the feedback as far as the communication. That's fair, and I absolutely am into that. That's my responsibility.
I'll just put my 2 cents out there. So I've seen my role probably very differently from most board members I've worked with to date. If I have a question about something, I go directly to Christian because he's my only employee. And I only 1/5 of that share. So I love Carol to death. She's gone, but I when I'm at a school next to that outdoor pool and she's out there, I don't even go up to her, just because it's not. I don't want to create any friction. He's my employee. That's how I go to. If I want to talk to Carol, I go through him. I don't. And again, I'm probably the only board member that thinks that way, and has over the last couple of years. But and he's even said you're more than welcome to go talk to whoever you want, and so forth and so forth. But I don't want to cross any lines, so to speak. In any conversation I want to have with an employee, or have questions about certain business or whatever, again, I go through him, and then at least let him know. Any email that occurs, whether I'm on a committee or whatever the case might be, that goes to another one of his employees, he's included on that. So I just try to keep him in the loop on all that communication, and direct my focus towards the one person that I actually have authority over. That's how I see it.
Except you don't.
Well, 1/5. 1/5.
3 of us have authority over. So, and I'm the same way. I don't mind talking to employees. I don't ever want to give the impression that I'm telling somebody what to do. And Christian and I have had that conversation many times. But I don't mind talking to them and getting their input. And that's how you kind of get a feel of what's going on. But yeah, I never want to give the impression that I'm ordering an employee to do this. I did ask Bree to make some copies for me today for this, but we did it at her convenience.
The other thing I'll say is
it wasn't an ultimatum.
Right. So I work in a school district. School district is a publicly funded entity, right? Mm-hmm. There are security measures for a school district. Schools have locks to protect the children and the staff that are inside. Parents, whether they're, a parent has to check in with the office before they can enter the building, and then their access is may be limited, or they have to be escorted, or whatever the case might be, again, for security measures. So do I see it as a taboo that we're locking the door? Not necessarily. Do I see how people can be upset? I can. But it's a different age that we live in, and you can have people come in drugged out, go to the bathroom, lock themselves in there, and you don't know what's happening. I mean, you go to a gas station, you have to have a code to get into a gas station. You go into where was it? We were eating breakfast. IHOP, Village Inn. I don't know.
I think it was IHOP.
You have to have a code to get in the bathroom at Village Inn or whatever now, just for those types of reasons. So
That's why I was saying the external access doors, I understand that, where there's not as much people that stop, but you come through the front door versus the staff entrances, so on and so forth. There's other ways it could have been done. I'm not saying I would ever go and circumvent him if I wanted to talk to an employee or whatnot. Even if I did stop by, I would let him know that I stopped by, so on and so forth, although we didn't this time around. I just walked around the office and found that it was locked. But I would never circumvent his authority to the employees, so to
Okay,
speak.
I'm not accusing. You're good.
And I would talk to him individually myself, but I would never discuss matters of his authority.
Yeah.
Because the best way to get a feel is to walk through the environment and people talk to you and you just kind of get information and gather information. I didn't get a feel for anything wrong. I just was shocked that we didn't know that there was a security system on the building. And then I'd get public information saying, hey, why is this access? I mean, it's no, anybody can come up there and push a button. You don't know who they are. And bring them in.
That's true.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say to that, very open on the idea of individual board members talking with our staff, and as long as they understand and respect their own responsibility, that they can't issue direction to any staff at any point, which I think honestly, I think has been pretty okay and no major issues for in recent memory. But I like the idea of people being able to go around, whether inspect, whether just talk, whether have conversations for it. Because I think it, to your point, does provide a little bit more, hey, I'm here, like, do you have anything you want to share? And it opens up a conversation. Hopefully de-stresses a little bit of the idea of elected officials and general staff and employees. I like to have that better relationships between the board and the staff because we're all on the same team. And I do own, it is my failure and responsibility as far as providing that information to the board at the time it happened. To be honest with you, it was a long process of even deciding to do that because we recognize there may be conversations about cost savings when it came to 79 Spalding being built, if it could be done at the same time. It's a long process of conversation. I think when we ultimately came to that decision, it was very much we recognized there were serious safety concerns that people had. There were people who came here before 8, there were people who stayed past 6, and they found themselves in situations where somebody would forget to lock that front door and people could have it. And for the humor of the situation, supposedly at one point somebody came in and dropped their underwear off in the fridge at some point for some reason.
Wow.
So we've had some very crazy stories.
A disgruntled employee? Or?
No, public. So we've had situations to the point of disgruntled employees. One of the main impetus was as we had physical key locks versus the access badge, when you terminate that employee, whether by phone if you can't get in contact with them, or if they're in that office and then they come back later, if you don't have their key on them at that time, you run the risk of either having to replace their lock or them having a disgruntled employee who comes in and we don't have control of access. So that's why we switched to the badging system. The front door came from the person who specifically dropped their underwear off in the fridge or just randomly roam around the building. So that is that. Happy to have a conversation about it, but I do apologize. It is on me for not informing the board.
I would like to consider, though, the key cards for the board members.
I think that's fair. We can follow up with that.
Thank you very much.
All right. Board member committee reports. Oh, no, sorry. Go ahead.
First of all, it wasn't me with the underwear. Right?
You still have all your underwear?
Okay, so I sat through the several budget meetings. First, apologize for missing several of them.
You are going to have that update, by the way, just for your budget meetings during the committee reports, I believe.
Oh.
Yeah, you are.
So you can, I don't know if you have multiple comments, but if you want to wait for that, that would align with it.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Thunder. I'm so sorry.
Okay, now we're going to committee reports. Brian, I think that's you. Oh, Petco, that's not you anymore.
All right. So Pedco. All right. So today at 3:30, there was 65 jobs announced from Trussworks. They are headquartered out of Texas. They manufacture trusses, mostly for multifamily townhomes and senior housing. They don't really do single families much, but somebody asked the question, if I wanted one done, would you make it? He said, sure. Let's see, I said 65 jobs. Average income is $54,300. It's going to be located, they're going to be located out near the airport. Petco has a building forum out there. That's it.
COA committee meeting, August 14th, President Vickers.
You need to unlock your iPhone first.
Sorry.
Bossy.
Yeah.
You need to unlock your iPhone first.
Okay.
Joe Mahaney is specifically saying on the chat that you were supposed to turn off your phone before the meeting started.
I
Thank
think
you
it
for
is,
the
I
comment.
think it is
Yeah, I
silence,
say
but
that.
Siri doesn't know that. Okay, I've got the agenda here somewhere. Maybe it's in there. Okay, so this was last month, or last week's meeting. They did, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 variances. 3? There's 6 listed here.
The 3 variances and then the accessory structures that go below it.
Oh, okay, thank you. 3 variances. Commercial industrial construction, 1 multifamily, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single-family homes. 9 accessories, and 4 strong letters are going out for enforcement. They're already out, so there we go. Thank you, Donna. All right, next.
Budget committee.
Budget committee update.
I'm going to turn it over to Director Pasternak.
You can go first.
Ah, dang it. I don't know if it will, but, go ahead.
I said 2 more specific.
Gotcha. I'll provide an overview. We just completed the budget committee this morning as far as all budget departments. There's going to be the intention of providing a overview to the board probably next month, because it's just September, the 2 meetings left before we would normally do our proposed budget, which happens at the first meeting in October, so long as it happens before October 15th, which is the state requirement. The process for this was traditional based budgeting. We didn't look at it as zero-based, though we did dive into a lot of the details, as I'm sure some will attest to be able to understand whether there were differences in how people were accounting for where they wanted to put in the budget, or there were discrepancies in how much they had increased the budget. Generally, for everybody's awareness, traditional is if you're going above just a general increment of what you expect normal cost escalation to occur, that's when you address those specific things. But it was with a new system. A lot of people have attested that new system, or at least the new version of that system, was a lot easier to use after they got used to it, which helped. And I think it still translated and transposed all their notes before, and I think it's still an ongoing process of correcting things that we notice, whether it's people are budgeting here versus here, or recognizing across the district there's just efficiencies we can do. So appreciate board members being involved in that process. We appreciate Jay, I believe his name was, the citizen who identified or applied to be on that committee. I appreciate everybody's time and energy involved, but we are finally at that point. The last part is personnel costs, and part of that is part of what we'll present to the board as well, as far as a cost of living increase or any adjustment before it's finalized as a proposed budget. I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Christian. So yeah, first, just apologies for missing a few of those meetings. As a treasurer, it's important for me to be there. I was not able to make a few of those in the beginning. However, the ones that I did make, I mean, it's quite thorough. It's line item by line item, and certainly learned a lot. Impressed again by the everybody involved as far as staff, and knowing their figures, and kind of working collaboratively to figure out where things may or may not need to go. The 2 things that stood out to me, and I know I mentioned one of them a few times, was just to make sure that we, as far as the vehicle leases, figure out a competitor that we can bounce their rates and such off of the enterprise ones. And then the other one that really stuck out to me was the fire department's reservoir contract. So they provide the, sorry,
Reserve. Yeah. Reserve contract for
the reservoir contract. Or
Oh, you're right, I'm
the-
sorry. Reservoir, yeah.
Yeah, Pueblo Lake.
Mutual aid agreement, or not mutual aid, response to the Pueblo Reservoir for any fire or emergency services, that contract.
Yes,
Sorry,
that
right.
contract. That is they're paying us $15,000 annually for that. In that meeting, we found out that there was, we thought around 60 calls, which is $250 on average per call, and sometimes those guys are out there for several hours searching for bodies, as an example. I think that should be increased. I don't know what it should be, but to me, $250 to go out there on average is pretty crazy low when you consider the cost of what's an ambulance, what's an ambulance ride cost. So I'd just like to see us look at restructuring that contract with them. I think that's important, especially, yeah, if it's something that we can control from the fire department standpoint to create revenue.
That's county,
What was that?
Is that county? Yeah, the purview?
I actually don't know who oversees it, 'cause I think it's
I
with
think
the
it's,
actual park manager.
I think it's direct with
Colorado
park manager.
Park Wildlife.
Parks and
or,
Wildlife, yeah.
Maybe a subsidy of it or
And
subsidiary.
they respond to the south side marina too.
Yes.
So-
Right. So
So
they're-
to that
yeah.
point is a good question, because I highlighted, that was a novel agreement as it was proposed, approved. I think we were going to
It
look into it.
seemed like it's been in place for,
Novel as in it was the first one we've
Oh,
looked into.
okay, yeah.
But it hasn't been reviewed and it hasn't been analyzed over time, so that feedback was super useful. I think our staff are gonna look at it and see, are there comparables that we can compare to?
Right.
Is it something that we can get a cost for what those calls look like, and be able to, if, whenever that time comes up for renegotiation, present it to the board to say, here are our recommendations.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really good, I appreciate that.
cool, okay. That was it.
That all? That's it. Okay, announcements. Fire-resistant landscape class with the CSU horticulturist, August 27th at 5:30 at 356 McCulloch Boulevard. That's here. End of summer country jam, September 13th, 4 p.m. at the Civic Center Park. Fall Fest, October 4th, 1 p.m. at the Civic Center Park. The Halloween Bash Drive-Thru, October 31st at 3:30 at Civic Center Park. And the Holiday and Lights Parade, December 6th at 5:30 at Civic Center Park. Man, we're already talking about Christmas. Okay. Next, we're going to adjourn and or recess our regular meeting, go into executive session. If I can get Ryan to state the motion.
So make a motion to recess the regular meeting and enter executive session for the purposes of 24-6-4024A Colorado Revised Statute concerning the purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of any real, personal, or other property interest. 24-6-4024E Colorado Revised Statute determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators. 24-6-4024B Colorado Revised Statute conferences with an attorney for the public entity for the purposes of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions in regards to Red Moon Development and Construction, Inc., LOI.
I'll second. So we have a motion to go into executive session for the purposes stated. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And at this time, pursuant to statute, regard to a conference with an attorney for the public entity for the purpose of receiving legal advice are properly noticed, and I would ask that the recording of the meeting be turned off at this time.